Well, hello there. It's been a while. Samus, gosh dang it. Why? Why have you done this? Maybe I don't want to feel loved. But yes, as Samus has put there, a lot has happened in the past 2 months. I got married, moved into a new house. Um, yeah, I mean, this is the new space. Now, you might notice the camera. We're trying a new thing with the camera. It's a different lens, so there's a bit of like artifacting around the corners. That is by design. We're just trying it out, see how we feel about it. Please let me know if there's anything that you notice. If because I had to redo the color correction, redo the sound. Actually, I'm noticing my mic's a little bit hot, so let's turn that down just a little bit. Please, by all means, if you notice anything that's weird, well, that's just a little bit off, please let me know either in chat or send me a DM, whichever you prefer. But yeah, so much has happened. I will apologize. This new place is probably a bit louder. My wife will probably be in and out a little bit through this door behind me. There's a dog. He might bark at stuff. Um, there's a bit of an echo. Okay, I will take a look at that. I did try to noise gate it, but I will definitely take a look at that. Let me add to my notes. Look at echo. Okay, thank you for that. Because yeah, this new house is also very echoey, which is a problem. Let me adjust this ever so slightly. Maybe that's a bit better. We'll see. But yeah, I will see what I can do about that echo for next stream. Thank you, Samuses. But yeah, so I'm back. Not for long because holidays and Christmas are coming up. So I'm back for a very small, short stream. I know we were playing Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky the Third when we left off, and we will get back to that in the new year in January. But I wanted something smaller that I could fit into 2, maybe 3 streams if it takes some time. So we're going to be going back to some of Higurashi, known around here as the Uncle Hunter series. And if you are an eagle-eyed viewer who paid attention to all those streams, you may notice that Popeye, the game we're playing, 1, isn't the one you announced in the stream title, and 2, is one we've already played. And to that I say, let me show you this cool thing I found out. So, for a while, I've been using a series of mods called 07th Expansion, which gives us the different assets of the characters. Made me play through with the original hand-drawn art, which is frankly a little bit terrifying. Thank you, Samuses. But the people who did the mod actually ported a bunch of games that were available only on console on, I believe it was the Japan PS3, over to this specific game. It has to be on this specific game on Steam, and you apply the patch, and it wipes out the original game data and loads in game data from a bunch of different other ones. Now, before we get into that, this game has some pretty mature themes. If any of these is something that is uncomfortable or something that you just don't feel okay watching, or at any point in time you no longer feel okay watching, please by all means find some place that you'd rather spend your time that makes you feel more comfortable. For the first time in one of these games, I actually don't fully know what's going to happen. I have a rough idea, but this is not something I've experienced before. Some of these arcs I have, but this one I have not. So because of that, I'm going to give just the blanket trigger warnings of some of the stuff that has happened in these games. Death, torture, murder, blood, gore, language, sexual assault, rape, child abuse, any of those above against a minor. if any of those things is not for you or makes you feel uncomfortable, please by all means find some place that will make you feel more comfortable today. Does it have adorable kittens? I don't think so, sadly. Yeah, sadly I don't think there are adorable kittens. But yeah, let's dive into it. So normally when you'd click start on one of these, it would take you to a screen which would say something to the effect of, this game has this level of difficulty. Are you expected to make it out of alive? Probably not. But now, after the mod, if we go through the creepy sound spiral, you'll see that we have a choice of... Well, let me move my face around. What's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... times 2 is 14 new arcs. Hello, Hat. How are you doing? And Samus is already banning Hat. Just sounds like an abuse of power. And that's the 6th time we've tried to ban Hat, apparently. So we have these 14 arcs, and the reason why we're playing this top left one here, not because it's the first one, although that is nice. We are playing this one because I found online someone who opened the game files and did a word count of every single Higurashi game. And this one is by far the shortest, compared to one of the other ones we did, which is the one, I believe this is number 4, the one where it's a bit earlier, Rika's younger, and there's the kid who gets kidnapped. It's about half the word count of that. And some of the stats are actually quite impressive. The word count for the entire, I think it was the entire main game series, is something like double the word count of the Bible or the entire Harry Potter series. So the last time it took us 4 episodes, so I'm hoping this will take us 2, maybe 3. We'll see. So hopefully not a quarter of a year. My goal is either we finish it on Friday, or if it goes too long, I'll come back either Monday or Wednesday next week. And if that happens, I will figure out the time and I will announce it ahead of time for everyone. Alright. Actually, another couple of things before we dive into this game, just some facts about it. So this is not part of the core game series. As a result, to my knowledge, and I haven't fully watched the latest... Oh yes, reminder. Higurashi recently released 2 seasons called Go and Sotsu. They are not a reboot. Do not start with those seasons. Go back to the original series. But yes, to my knowledge, I haven't fully watched those 2 new seasons. I'm about halfway through the first of them, just because of all the stuff that delayed stream. But to my knowledge, this does not appear in any of them, so there shouldn't be any spoilers for that. Chronologically, where does this game fit in? This game fits in prior to the first game, Onikakushi. But from a point of view of when should you play it, you should play it after having played through the first 3 games, because it kind of touches on bits and pieces from all those kind of mashed together a little bit. And then here's your etymology. So, Taraimawashi, in Japanese, literally means to pass the basin around. A basin, being like a thing you hold water in. And it's, was it an idiom? I think that's the right term. For an unpleasant task that you just, you have to do, you really should do it, but you don't do it. They compare it in English to the phrase pass the buck, where there's something that needs to be done and you just kind of pass responsibility, or usually blame, in our case, around. That's about it I think I have for preview of this. I don't know if this mod will play the poem for it. If not, I have the poem that goes with this. The bot was only 7 minutes late. I mean, Samus's, I had to fix that. I don't know if you remember, we used to have the bot that would do this about 5 to 10 minutes into stream, and then it just broke, and we didn't know why. And then I think it was Beardy was actually the one who started using it again. And I was like, oh, that works? And he's like, yeah, it works again. You just have to relink it to Discord. So I did that. Now it works. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh, didn't mean to open that menu. All right, the poem. Each of these games comes with a poem. And actually, most fairly interesting, at least I find this interesting, is depending on the version you got. If you bought it at a specific Comiket, which is like the big comic convention and anime and just Japanese culture kind of in that sense that happens in once in the summer and once in the winter, they would release a different poem with the game depending on that version. So you can actually date the version of the game depending on the poem that came with it in some cases. But this one only had one. We'll see if it comes through or not. If not, I have it on my notepad over here. And yeah. I know nothing about this, really, other than it's kind of the mash of the first three together. I've only opened it and just mashed through to make sure that, like, sprites and stuff loaded, which I think actually took a while, because these games love to start with, like, a background scene with none of the main characters. Didn't read any of the dialogue, don't really know what's happening, so let's find out. Okay, so here's the typical screen you get. So this is the Passing Blame arc. This chapter is an alternative take on Onikakushi, which is chapter 1. Oh, and here we go. Expected to crash 5 minutes in, wipe all of the data, and then spend a day of troubleshooting. I hope not, because I've loaded this up. I actually installed this on Halloween. That's when I discovered it. Because on my side over here is like a window that looks out just onto the porch, and I could see all the trick-or-treaters. So yeah. Hopefully not. I mean, if it does, I mean, we try again. I do still have, of course, Trails in the Sky the Third if it needed to come to that. Let's hope it doesn't. All right. And yes, and this... Oh, you actually can't see my mouse. There, you can. Okay, and this line summarizes basically all I know about this game. Keichi does his best to avoid the major conflicts in Hinamizawa. He's going to try his best to just... You know, weird stuff's happening, people are dying. I'm not dealing with it. Trails in the Sky the Third was the one that crashed and took a couple days to resolve, and the problem ended up being the game is so old. I believe that one came out in 2008, 2009, something like that. The game is so old, there is a video file for a cutscene that is no longer supported on Windows machines. So I had to install a driver that would read the video. That was the problem. So, what file type was it? I don't know. All I know is some people had similar problems, and someone suggested installing this this driver for video files. And after, you know, making sure it was legitimate and not super sketchy and going to steal all my information, I installed it and gave it a shot, and we got past that cutscene. There was also an issue with it where... What was it? The audio went twice as fast as the video, so for whatever reason the FPS was like halved for it, and that was a DirectX issue. I had to use the older version of DirectX to solve that issue. So yeah. Interesting stuff. I'm going to move my face back up to the top because there's going to be text down there. And we're going to start, and usually there's like a creepy kid laugh. There it is.
人は誰しも辛いことから逃げたがるもの。人は誰しも現実よりも夢を見続けたいもの。越えるべき壁、向き合う現実から目をそらし続けた先に手に入れるものは一体何なのか。そして失われるものは。たらい回し。逃げることは罪じゃない。でも現実は夢のように甘くなかった。
Okay, here's the poem. What is it you wish to see? I shall show it to you. What is it you wish to hear? I shall tell you about it. But please do not expect anything, as I'm sure someone like yourself who closes their eyes and ears will find no meaning in it. Oh, and it actually was a decent amount of time for once. Usually I have to like go back and read it from my notes. Cotton swayed as it drifted downstream. The Watanagashi ceremony must still be going on upstream. As I stared blindly at the river, pondering those thoughts, I failed to notice that Rena and the others had already moved on without me. I wasn't too worried about it, though. I've already grown familiar enough with this village to feel like one of the locals. So I decided to just relax here until someone comes back looking for me. When I turned my head, I just happened to notice a person standing off near the riverbed. Looking a little closer, it looked like a girl. Their long hair swaying about. I couldn't make out her face from behind, so I started walking closer. Maybe she heard the clatter of the gravel under my feet. She quickly turned back this way. Mion? Oh, and it's done the thing where it didn't save. There we go. There's the art style that we will be using. For people's reference, there's the original art style. This is the PlayStation art style, and it's okay at times. The one advantage it has is PlayStation added lip syncing, which the others don't have. That would be my only argument for it. No, it was her twin sister, Shion. Is the remake just the original mirror? No. So let's see. So we have original console, remake. I mean, is it? No, she's still got, you know, like the arm like this and the other arm out. Yeah, it's a lot more detailed, and it's much closer to basically what the style in the anime is. Shion came to Hinamizawa to hang out with us a couple of times since the time I met her at Angelmore, but I still have trouble telling the two of them apart from a distance. I mean, so already this game's gonna be a lot shorter because we've jumped straight ahead to the Watanagashi Festival, which is when stuff starts going down. That's when people start dying, when people start like going a bit crazy. And usually that doesn't take place, I would say, until... These games are usually, I don't know, like 8-ish chapters. It usually doesn't start happening until like chapter 3, so we probably already skipped a quarter of most games. And we're already at the end of the festival. Usually then one of the chapters is the festival itself. Also, something I forgot to mention earlier, that intro sequence where they were talking about just like averting your gaze from your problems. The music in the background is a music box version of the of one of the openings to these games. So when you first open any of these games on Steam or on the console, it'll ask you if you want to play, and they have a video. Hello, Irish. How's it going? It'll ask you if you want to play it, and the reason why it asks you is it's kind of just a mishmash of all these different arcs, and there's a lot of spoilers. In fact, there's a ridiculous amount of spoilers, just like straight up showing you people who will die, straight up showing you villains of an entire arc. But yes, it is the music box version of one of those openings. How are you doing, Butler? Shion laughed mischievously after saying that. In hindsight, it was an odd thing to ask. Glued to Halo still? Shion's voice dropped slightly as she answered, and she turned towards the river. I felt a hint of discomfort. Did I say something weird?
そんなことないです。だけど、
But what?
いえ、なんでもないです。
Even if Shion said it was nothing, her expression told me otherwise. In fact, her demeanor made it pretty clear that there was something after all.
どうかしたのか?
Shion continued pensively gazing downward. Her lips were moving faintly, but I couldn't understand a single word of it.
ケイちゃん、
Then Shion raised her head and stared straight at me while asking a peculiar
も
question.
し1年に一度決まった日に何かが起こるとしたら、ケイちゃん、どう思いますか?
どういう意味だ?
How expensive is the Spotify premium in the US?
例えば、
Because, yeah, I know it's pretty expensive.
事件と
It's...
か、
I can't remember exactly what it is here. It was something like $17 or $19 a month, and it's just like, oh, it's so much money.
なんか穏やかじゃないな。
Yeah,
ひょっとし
here,
て
let me actually look it up, what it is in Canada.
何かがあるってことか?
I know it's expensive. Spotify Premium Canada, not .com. Okay, so they give you the first 3 months free, and then after that... It depends how many accounts you want. Okay, it's actually not as bad as I thought. So with tax... So it's $10, and then with tax... Add 13, so... Like $11.50. 2 accounts is $13. A family one is 16. That's the one I was thinking of, which is 6 people. And then the student is $5. Wait, why does the student only get 1 month free? You give individuals 3 months free, but the students only 1? Thanks, Spotify. Yeah, I don't know if that's different in Canada or not, but they have, depending how many accounts are tied to it, because I think the way it works is it's one of those ones where if someone's logged into it, like you can only have so many accounts logged into it at once. And you'd, like if, let's say you were trying to split an individual with 2 people, if someone's logged in and someone, you know, you gave it to your friend, and they tried to log in while you have it, I don't think it works. I think that's how they have it set up, but I'm not sure.
いえ、みんながみんなというわけじゃないんです。
That's a really roundabout way of speaking. This was supposed to be a joke. That would have been the time to shoot it down. And not everyone? So did that mean it happens to someone in particular? Shion and I had stopped talking for a while. Silence filled the space between us. When it started to feel suffocating, I decided to open my mouth. But just then...
ケイちゃん、タタリって信じる人ですか?
Curses? Yes, like Beardy's internet. That's a curse, right? My impulse reaction to Shion's abrupt question was to turn straight towards her and stare
び
blankly.
っくりしました。ごめんなさい。突然変なことを聞いて。
Shion followed up with a few gentle words, but I struggled to muster a response. Her serious expression seemed eerily out of place. I couldn't help but feel uneasy.
綿流しのお祭りってお社様のたたりを鎮めるための奉納が起源なんですよ。その神様のたたりを鎮めるために年に一度こうして川に綿を流しているんですね。
Mion and the others told me that much. But even so, what do they mean by a curse? Are they saying Oyashiro-sama isn't a compassionate god, but a malevolent one?
まさかシオンはタタリを信じてるのか?
いえ、 私は
Man, I'm pretty sure my brother still has a student bank account and he hasn't been a student for like 4 years.
でもこの村じゃ若い人でも結構いますよ。信じてる人。
そうなんだ。
Given her personality, I would have expected a more complete denial, but instead, I was the skeptical one here. I couldn't believe that young people in a world of modern science, remember this is taking place in 1983, I think, would believe in such a thing.
そして祭りの後、毎年起こるんです。決まってちょうど今頃に。
怒るって何が？
綿流しの日、この村の誰かが。
Shion paused for a moment, looked around her, and spoke on. I assume that's supposed to be spoke in, or spoke on in a low voice.
死ぬんです。
Honestly, thought I was finally starting to get used to life in Hinamizawa. But there were too many things I still didn't know. Like how people pretend to know nothing when you ask them about these terrible incidents that happened in the past. I knew Rena and Mion were hiding things from me. Still, they were just trying to avoid giving me a negative outlook on the village right after I moved here. Indeed, after giving it a proper thought, that was the conclusion I reached. But even if it was all in the past, a person living in Hinamizawa, as a person living in Hinamizawa, I want to be aware of its dark history. I appreciated that my friends were concerned about me, but nevertheless, a part of me was bizarrely fascinated by it. So I wanted to hear it. I signaled for Shion to continue.
3年前の綿流しの日、それが最初でした。あるご夫婦が旅行先で崖下の濁流に転落したんです。旦那さんは亡くなって、奥さんは今もまだ死体すら見つかっていません。
転落って事故か？
警察の発表はそうなってますね。
The way she spoke made it clear that she had some doubts about the official story.
その翌年の綿流しの晩には、今度は神社の神主さんが原因不明で急死しました。そして神主さんの奥さんはその晩のうちに沼に入水して自殺。その死体も未だに。
神社の神主ってこの神社のか？
Shion silently nodded.
またその翌年、これももちろん綿流しの晩、今度はこの村の主婦が撲殺体で発見されました。
A shiver ran through me the moment I heard beaten to death. More than that, something felt strange. When it came to the accident and sudden illness, I felt like there was too strong a possibility that those were simply coincidental, so it seemed unrealistic to attribute them to a curse.
でも、死んだ人たちは誰もがあることに深く関係していたんです。
Deeply involved, huh?
この村の大事件にです。
Hearing that reminded me of what Tomitake-san told me earlier.
ひなみ沢のダム工事。
どうして知ってるんですか？
Shion's unusually strong reaction left me confused. Is it really so odd for me to know about it?
それは驚きますよ。だってみんなこの話は知らない人にはひた隠しにしていますから。まさかケイちゃんが知ってるなんて思わなかったんです。
I see. I thought that might be the case.
そうですか。知ってたんですか。この人たちはみんなダムの誘致に賛成か、あるいは反対運動に消極的だった人たちなんです。
So in other words, guardian god of Hinamizawa was retaliating against the dam construction project that could have submerged Hinamizawa. At least, that's what the people of Hinamizawa seem to believe. All the victims on the night of the Watanagashi were people connected to the dam project and to Oyashiro-sama. However, beating death seemed different from the other incidents because it was clearly a murder. Thinking about it that way, I started to worry that maybe the housewife beaten to death had a similar connection.
殺された主婦ってどんなやつだったんだ。その人もダム工事の反対運動に関係があるのか。
その主婦の旦那さんは旅先で転落死した夫婦の弟さんなんです。
Instead of allaying my fears, the tight connection only amplified them. The curse took her life simply because a relative of hers was a dam supporter? The curse born from the dam project and the depths the village was willing to go to in order to keep it under wraps. The more I thought about it, the more anxious I started to feel about these incidents. Like the incident at the dam construction site. Yes, the brutal on-site murder of the manager.
当時は工事の継続をめぐって論議が紛糾していました。そして次第に不祥事が明るみに出て、揺れに揺れて、あのバラバラ殺人はダム計画に終止符を打った事件だったんです。
As soon as the word murder came out of Shion's mouth, I could hear it hauntingly echoing.
昭和54年の綿流しの日の深夜です。6人の男たちが口論の末に被害者に襲いかかったんです。初めは殺すつもりはなかったそうです。だけど被害者がシャベルを振り回し始めると、自分たちも武器になるものを手にして一気に殺し合いにエスカレートしたんだそうです。
Ooh, ah! Sounds like they're watching fireworks. The angry men's roars intertwined with sparks flying as their shovels and pickaxes collided. And the victim was the manager of the dam construction site.
容疑者たちが言うには、その現場監督は日頃からその6人の容疑者たちをいじめていたそうです。それがその夜、酒盛りが深すぎて、みんなだんだんと気が荒くなって口論となって、初めは仕返しのつもりだったらしいのですが、しまいにみんなで寄ってたかって。
Ooh, ah, yeah! Oh, and there's blood and murder. The men's enraged shouts echoed inside my head. Shovels and pickaxes collided, and sparks scattered in the middle of the dark night. I could see the entire situation playing out inside my head.
気がついたら、そこには誰の目にも生きているとは思えない無残な姿が横たわっていたそうです。
The dull dark liquid was spreading across the ground. A sickening aroma lingered, and then they all looked at their shovels and pickaxes and found them covered not in dirt, but something else. Still, that wasn't enough. So the suspects took the construction manager
バラバラ
and...
にしてしまった。
Why? Why would they do something so horrible?
もちろん男たちも最初は警察へ出頭しようと考えたと聞きました。だけどリーダー格の男だけが死体を隠そうと提案したようですね。そして迷った残りの5人も。
Their thoughts quickly honed in on the desire to avoid getting caught. Indeed, they weren't in this alone. Each of them had 5 other accomplices with them. They all worked together to hide it. They could keep it hidden. They had all arrived at that conclusion. Plus,
死体を隠す方法がいくらでもある建設現場です。彼らはさっさと死体を隠し、その場を離れるはずでした。
I could picture 5 men desperately working, their desire to get out of there as soon as possible. However,
リーダー格の男は他の5人がビビって自首して事件が発覚することを恐れたようです。そこで取ったのが 他の5人の口封じでした。
一体どうやって？
Shion suddenly went quiet. It seemed like she was hesitating while deciding if she should say.
どうしたシオン？
I urged Shion to tell me. She hesitated for a moment while choosing her words, then began to speak.
死体を人数分に切断してそれぞれの責任で隠すという。
I see. The truth behind the dismemberment murder was divided evenly among the people involved. They each bore a piece to remind them of the sin they committed. I couldn't help but see their logic as a demonic way of thinking.
男たちは泣きながらおののきながら誰も逆らえませんでした。素直に従わない人もいましたが、逆にリーダー格の男に殺されることを恐れたんでしょうね。結局全員が手を下したと聞きました。
I stood there for a while, unable to close my mouth. The damn construction conflict was a fight for the survival of Hinamizawa. A horrific murder happened during the course of that conflict. That much I already knew. I was just expecting to hear that again. But in fact, it was far more than just that. A murder, an accident, a deadly illness, a suicide, a beating to death. Killing, 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 killing. I grew up in the modern era. I'd rather not believe in something like a curse. Still, these mysterious deaths kept happening every year on the day of the Watanagashi. On top of that, the victims were always directly related to the dam project. When you look at each incident individually, it's easy to see them as completely coincidental. When they all keep adding up, it seems a lot harder to calmly brush them off as coincidences. I don't believe in curses. However, it certainly seems like someone or something is deciding that something should happen on every Watanagashi.
ちょっと待て。それじゃあ今年の綿流しの晩にも誰か人が死ぬってことか？今度は誰なんだ？
わかるわけないじゃないですか、そんなこと。
Well, of course, if she knew anything about it, she'd be trying to prevent it. An unsettling wind blew across my moist, sweaty body. Information seemed very unnecessary.
今夜また何か起こるんじゃないかって恐れているんだと思います。
それじゃあみんながお祭りに参加してるのは？
Because they're all afraid of being
やっ
cursed?
ぱりみんな怖いんです。お社様のたたり。
I was left speechless. We're living in the Showa era. We made incredible progress in every field of research, shining a light on the darkness of our ignorance. Black and white TVs are pretty much extinct. We managed to build a rocket that can send human beings to the moon. Nevertheless, even though we live in such a modern society, little by little I was finally starting to understand why Ren and Mion were so hesitant to talk about it. If Watanagashi ends this year without an incident, then I suppose there'd be no point in telling me anything. If nothing happens, then everything is fine. In that case, it's all needless panic. Yeah, panic, you're needless. I just need to pretend that I never knew anything. The girls can act like nothing ever happened. Then we can get back to our normal, everyday lives. Right. If I don't know anything, then...
やっぱり言わない方が良かったですか？
いや、そんなことは。
Even though I tried my hardest to speak normally, I couldn't completely disguise the anxiety building up inside me. Then Shion continued, with no regard for whether I understood or not.
でもね、ケイちゃん、綿流しの後には死者ばかりじゃないんです。もう気づいているかもしれないですけど、一緒に誰かがいなくなるんです。
In the murder of the construction manager 4 years ago, it was the leader of the group. In the accident while on vacation, the wife was swept away by the river. The shrine priest's wife leapt into the water after his death. Hello, Avier, stop that! How are you doing, friend? Now, Avier. It's been, what, 2 months? You had your points for 2 months. You had all the time in the world to think about what you could and should have been doing with it. But you chose this. Now you get a finger in your face. And yes, these 2 months let me see who had the continuous subs. So I know exactly who the people are I need to scold. Yes, I won't reveal names, but there were 4 people. 4 people who kept the streak up. You wanted to help, or you wanted your streak to stay alive? One person dies, and another disappears. Why not both? Fair, why not both? Dang it, that's exactly what Samus has said. Well, similar. Well, you said congratulations on the wedding, marriage, and house. as you resubscribed. It was like you put it in the card. Shion's voice dipped even lower. I should have been able to hear the sound of the babbling stream. That sound didn't reach my ears at all. Top of that, the voice of the Higurashi kept echoing in my ears like they weren't aware of the time. It was incredibly irritating.
事件は去年の6月20日の夜の9時頃、主婦が路上に仰向けになった形で血まみれで倒れていて、最初は中年の女性としかわからなかったそうです。
That can't be. This isn't some big city like Tokyo. If you asked anyone in the neighborhood, they'd immediately know who you were talking about, right? It seemed like a natural question. However, Shion's response was both scathing and horrifying.
ええ、そうですね。でも、顔が完全に潰されていましたから。
For a moment, my thoughts ceased. Her face was completely destroyed. They wouldn't be able to recognize who she was. It took me a moment to realize that. But I felt a strange irritation, like a hair scraping against the inside of my ear. I had to rewind the tape just to hear those words again. Her face was crushed beyond recognition. Goosebumps erupted across my entire body, and sweat was pouring out of every available opening. That sounds very disgusting. I didn't need to know that.
警察はその事件を恨みによる犯行だと考えたそうです。というのも犯人は後ろ頭をめちゃくちゃに叩き潰しておいて、その上さらに死体をわざわざ仰向けにして顔を潰していたんです。
The incident happened in the early summer. All that swing must have fanned the scent of blood all around the vicinity. I suddenly felt sick as I imagined the sight and smell.
そしてその事件の後に、その家の子が行方不明になったんです。
The child of the housewife whose face was crushed disappeared without a trace? How does that fit in? There should be some logic or reason behind it, so is anything
そ
there?
の少年は行方不明になる前にこう言っていたそうです。誰かに見張られている。後をつけられているんだって。
Anyone dealing with that mental state would be frightened by mere shadows. That's what the kid said. I don't think there's much room to argue that. However, the story was completely different if the kid was feeling that way before the incident even happened. Then the kid might have been convinced that disaster was about to come down on him and his family.
誰かが言うんです。それはお社様のたたりの前兆だったんだって。きっとあの子は心のどこかでひなみ沢を捨てて逃げ出そうという気持ちがあったんだ。それをお社様は許さなかったんだって。
The god who won't let the villagers abandon the village? Did that really exist? I couldn't believe in a god that would force that kind of devotion on people.
だからきっと今夜もまた誰かが犠牲に。ケイちゃん
Shion's words were interrupted by a voice calling out to me. When I looked back, I saw Mion waving her arms while running in my direction.
いやーごめん一人にさせちゃって。あれシオンこんばんはお姉。何か用ですか？用って用がないと来ちゃいけないの？
For a split second. Jeez, that sound was terrifying. Mion's voice had the hot breath of a beast behind it, and a bloody aroma that drifted all around me. Got to see your girlfriend again for the first time in 2 years back in November? That is wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. So yeah, it's been a wild 2 years. Yeah, you had to deal with the flooding in Vancouver. Yeah, I'm working, some of my clients are out that way, and they work in like package shipping, and they're just like freaking out right now because there's just no way to get any of the packages out. Yeah, the panic buying, as it always happens. That hot breath filled the area and made all the hairs on my body to stand on end. Was I the only one who felt it? He door-dashed, yep. I took a sideways glance at Shion's face. There was no mistaking the narrow look in Shion's eyes. It seemed obvious that she felt something from Mion's words. Shion took it in stride and shrugged her shoulders, then answered in a light tone.
ただ何か用があるのかなって聞いてみただけです。
She was deliberately prodding at her sister's heart.
あっそ
Next moment, Mion let out a pleasantly boisterous laugh. All the tension that was building up released at once, and a feeling of relief instantly came over me. Even though my heart couldn't fully comprehend the situation, I let out a sigh of relief, or something like that. And yet...
私はてっきりなんかいけない話でもしてるところに来ちゃったかなって思ってね。いけない話って何ですか？さあ、私が聞いてるんだけど。
The restless atmosphere came flowing back. Then Shion lightly smiled.
そうですね。何ですか？いけない話って。
I faintly tilted my head to the side. Mion's expression grew more tense as she attempted to dodge the question. But a moment later, Mion returned to her usual carefree expression. And
だ
then...
からさ、シオン、今日のバイトは休みなの？え、今何時ですか？もうこんな時間だよ。
Mion pointed to her watch.
いけない。思ったより遅くなっちゃいましたね。だからいけない理由でもあるのかって聞いたんだって。
Huh? That's what she meant?
ありがとうね、教えてくれて。ケイちゃん、ごめんなさい。私、そろそろバイトに行きますね。
After saying that, Shion walked off at a brisk pace. Mion let out a sigh while watching her from behind. And just as I made a wry smile and was about to comment on how troublesome Shion was...
シオンのやつ、なんだって？
She asked me so suddenly that my voice got caught in the back of my throat.
あの子、ケイちゃんに何か言ったの？
いや、別に。
なんで隠すの？
え？
隠したってすぐにわかるんだからね。おじさんを煙に巻こうったってそうはいかないよ。
I sensed a bright light glimmering in the back of Mion's piercing gaze. I couldn't find the words to respond. I hesitated for a while, deciding if I ought to repeat what Shion told me. The story that Mion and the others were trying to keep hidden. I turned my gaze downward as I wrestled to find the right words. I could see tons of cotton floating down the river by my feet. But why? Maybe it was due to the chilling story I just heard, but... The piles of cotton started to resemble slabs of meat sliding down a conveyor belt. Suddenly, I felt like I had to throw up.
Keicha?
I was bent over, holding a hand to my mouth.
大丈夫?
Mion put a hand on my shoulder. Her hand was filled with soft, gentle warmth. I started to calm down.
ごめんね。ちょっときつい言い方になっちゃったね。でも、気にしちゃダメだからね。あの子って悪趣味なこと言って、人のことをからかう癖があるからさ。
大丈夫だって。変なことなんか聞いてない。
本当？
本当だ。
本当に本当？
本当だって。
Mion carefully looked me
変だ
over.
ぞミオ。お前こそ嫌に勘ぐってないか。
いや、おじさんはなんていうか、こんな暗いところで二人っきり何してたのかなってさ。
You wanna know what we're doing alone in the dark place, huh?
意味がわからん。
いやいや、真っ赤に燃える太陽の季節ってか？
さらに意味不明な上に今は夜だし。
なんて。おじさん気の回しすぎかな。
Okay, what's everyone's feeling on the new Diamond and Pearl? I am actually not a fan of the art style. Haven't actually played it. It has that kind of like chibi art style. It looks a little too cutesy for me. It'll probably sell a boatload of like additional like figurines and stuff, I'm sure. And yeah, I haven't seen really what they've done to upgrade features. I know that they gave you, there were some items they gave you sooner. They went back to TMs being single use, but they gave you, I think, 2 or 3 every time you pick them up. Because in like the newer games, they're unlimited use. Probably. Yeah, 3 to 5 TMs. I know some TMs you can purchase. I don't know if you could purchase every TM. I think some are just limited. Or you'd have to get them through like random event kind of things. Oh right, and you no longer have to give people HMs. I forgot about that. The conversation had steered in an awkward direction, but I still felt terrible for being unable to talk to Mion about what Shion was telling me. As a result, I couldn't even bring myself to ask if Shion's story was true or not. I could still see a hint of doubt on Mion's face, so I just vaguely laughed along with her. Alright, you can mine them in the underground, can't you? Man, I have not... Diamond and Pearl was a long time ago. I didn't even remember the underground's a thing until I watched people playing, and I'm like, what the heck are they doing? Oh, right, that's a thing, isn't it? I looked back in the direction of that voice and saw Rena bouncing up and down while running towards me. 2009, yep, so, yeah, 12 years, 12 and a half years. Sadako and Rika-chan were panting heavily while running behind her. See, I would do the thing where if I really needed to go from, you know, place A to place B, or there's something I had to unlock that needed an HM, I would have that one, you know, like, whatever, level 5 Pokemon that you caught really early that, like, learns all of them, break them out of the PC, get there, put them back in the PC.
さんのことすっかり忘れておりましたわ。
何？ 俺のことを忘れるとは不届き千万。
嘘なのです。ちゃんと探していたのです。ただお話に夢中になってしまっていただけなのです。
Then why say that you forgot about me?
話だけじゃございませんわ。夜店で売ってるお菓子も悪かったのですわよ。私たちに落ち度はございませんわ。
It wasn't our fault we found food and got hungry and ate it all.
うんうん。あんず飴とっても美味しかったよね。よね。
You guys really forgot about me. The three of them looked at each other and grinned. I meekly leaned back and looked up toward the sky. You guys, you're all so... You didn't bring me any food, did you? Then Tomitake-san came over to us.
あら、富武さんじゃございませんこと。富武、ちょうどよかったのです。今日の射的の結果発表だよ。
あ、そうだったね。結局ビリは僕なのかな。
Today's game ended with my dramatic victory, but was followed by a fierce battle to avoid last place. Rika-chan was the last one to take the challenge, but by then, there were hardly any targets left, and the few targets that did remain were as small as a box of matches. What do you mean game's done? Rika-chan tried aiming at her target, but the counter was too tall. It's impossible to maintain a stable posture while standing on your tiptoes. Not even I could pull that off. On top of that, the gun was so heavy that our arms couldn't help but shake. Everything added up to an impossible task. Nonetheless, it's a cutthroat competitive world. Even if you're at a disadvantage, you need to rise above it, using your own strength in order to succeed. Strike back at your enemies. That's the law governing our club activities, our core value. Our core value is revenge. Seems like a great core value. With that in mind, I had no choice but to encourage Rika-chan. In other words, with the three of us already out of the picture, her best option was to tie it up with Tomitake-san. That's what I thought anyway. However, battle-hardened Rika-chan had the most powerful weapon of all hidden behind her back. And that weapon was... She suddenly started crying meep meep in front of the stall, forcing the shopkeeper into a dilemma. Naturally, the guest walking by the shopkeeper was the one who made her... assumed the shopkeeper was the one who made her cry. So they all began coldly glaring at him. Couldn't be helped. He couldn't resist the young lady, so he handed her a pack of gum. In the end, there was nothing Tomitake-san could do to beat that. Rika-chan was like a sly fox, or a cunning tanuki.
Keichi, ひどいことを考えているのです。
No, for once her thoughts actually weren't that terrible.
僕は立派な人間なのですよ。コンコン。
Ultimately, I decided her feigning crying felt more fox-like.
というわけで、富武さんがビリに決定。
Yay, you suck! You're in last! Yay! Applause.
そりゃどうもありがとう。
Tomitake-san seemed a bit confused and shyly scratched the back of his neck. How sad, he was completely blindsided by the horrors of this group.
どういう意味だい？
いやいや、ケイちゃんは運がいいな、富武さんって言ってるんだよ。そうなのですよ。とてもラッキーなのです。強運の持ち主でございますわ。羨ましい限りでございます。
You're so envious, you're welcome to trade places.
いいのいいの。運が良くて羨ましいな。はう。
They're all demons.
じゃあ富武さん、覚悟はいいかな？罰ゲーム。
え？ああ、そうか。忘れてた。
Well, we haven't forgotten our part. Mion pulled a felt-tip marker out of her pocket. And she has a mischievous look on her face. Permanent marker is too harsh. Couldn't she show him some mercy and use a washable one? Dang it, Hero, it's not a raid!
洗ったら落ちちゃうでしょ。
Oh, apparently scrolling. Oh, that moved it ahead. Wait, does scrolling... Oh, I didn't know I could advance the text by scrolling. Interesting. Stop, Samuses, don't shout me out. All of us pinned his arms behind his... Yo, Tomitake is pretty beefed up. I'm pretty sure he could take, what, 5 kids? It's not a raid. Mion approached him with the marker in hand. The tension in the air was frightening.
それそれ。はい。キュッキュッキュッだね。
But she didn't write on Tomitake-san's face. She wrote on the shirt he was wearing. You better have your big break this year, Mion. No, Hero's not one of the 4 continuous subs because the Scold is money-based, so you can have it all year long, even if you don't subscribe. Is toughness measured in children fighting now? I mean, hasn't it always been? How many children can you take in a fight? But Rika-chan was next to take a turn with the marker. Even if you came in last place, you're number 1 in my heart. Rika. It made me smile bitterly.
これじゃ罰ゲームじゃなくて寄せ書きだね。
You could take at least 2. So these are elementary school kids. So no one here is older than like... Actually in this group, no one here is older than 13. So it's basically how many kids between like the age of 8 and 13 could you take in a fight at once?
私は甘くはありませんのよ。ちゃんと罰ゲームでいきますわ。
And Samus says, why are you sleep deprived? Hope you come in last place again next time. Oh, Sadako.
次はケイイチさんの番でございますわよ。
I'm sorry to hear that, Samus. Just go fly. Oh, did I get it? I did not. Or it just fell to the ground. What, everyone hasn't been sleeping well? I couldn't decide what to write, but based on what kind of penalty this was probably the most appropriate. Come back and play again, Keichi. And finally, I handed the marker to Rena. Rena hummed to herself as she considered what to write, but then she wrote something in a flash. Show me your photos next time, okay? Star, Rika. Tomitake-san's were open wide when we started, but by the end he was smiling gleefully.
これ着たままで東京に帰らなきゃいけないのかな。
もちろん罰ゲームだもん。ちゃんと着たまま帰ってね。次に来る時にも着てきてくれるといいな。いいな。
He appeared deeply moved. Embarrassment mixed with a wealth of other emotions made him turn bright red.
わかった。次に来る時もこれを着てくれよ。約束する。
Yeah, that's right. Hope we get to see his photos next time, like Rena asked.
そうだよ。
Magic. So, I know a few people... Oh, Hero has redeemed a stretch. Okay. Yeah, take care, Avier. It was great to see you. Alright. Okay. So, one thing about this area is there's less room than the old area. So, here's the door, I'm touching it. If I was to extend my hand, so it's basically an arm's width, approximately. That's the amount of space I got. Can I still juggle? Yes, I did test this. I can't do all my moves for sure, but I can still do enough. Hero, you probably don't give Ella snacks or head pats either. Why'd you have to curse us again? No, I do not have the tennis ball. The tennis ball did not make the move. The tennis ball wasn't even mine. The tennis ball was my dad's. He would use it for... you put the tennis ball on the floor and then you lie on it. And it's supposed to help with your back. And I had injured my back at the time. I don't even remember why. Like what happened that I did. But that's why I had the tennis ball. But I had to give it back to him. Yes, it can work on your neck as well. And if you're looking for something that's a little bit tougher, you can use a golf ball. Be warned, the golf ball is really, really tough. If you are not looking for something that hard, it can be painful. But yeah, I was going to say, I know a few people who've had problems sleeping. And my brother's doctor, she recommended to him magnesium. That was one I'd never heard of before. How could I leave Ella's tennis ball? Well, I got my juggling balls. I have a whole drawer of other stuff, including juggling balls. Oh, you know about magnesium? Okay. Hello.
Just inserting some.
So yeah, magnesium, that's helped my brother. He takes it maybe like an hour before he wants to get sleepy. That helps him get sleepy. Can't remember what the other things are. He tried something else and it kind of worked, but not as well. What are those pills that you take to get just vitamins? is that the word you're looking for?
富武さん、みんなの写真撮ってよ。
そうだな。記念写真を撮ろう。
Supplements? Yeah, supplements also, yeah. As Tomotaki-san said that he laid down a tripod and configured the self-timer.
いいかい？撮るよ。はい、チーズ。
Did you notice any difference when you started taking the medicine with magnesium? Yeah, try it. I mean, I think it's worth a shot. You know, as long as your doctor didn't tell you to take it at a certain point of time in the day. Oh gosh, they actually flashed that. More clapping. It was the finest parting gift possible for a buddy heading out tonight. I saw the woman who was with Tomitaki-san standing near the festival grounds. It seemed Tomitaki-san noticed her as well, and I knew it was time to leave. Ah, I see. Yes. Have you tried a weighted blanket?
おやおや、お連れ様がお待ちですか？そろそろお時間かな。ん？
Fair enough, yeah.
え？
They are. They can be quite expensive. I think that like the cheapest I've seen for an adult size was maybe like 200. They are on the expensive end of things to try. Yes, they are supposed to be good for both of those. I don't even know what those stores are, but maybe listen to Hero and try them. Tomitaki-san headed off towards her and seemed to apologize for making her wait. They all shouted stuff at Tomitaki-san. Each time we did, he looked back and waved his hand. Eventually, he faded into the darkness of the night, out of sight.
行っちゃったね。じゃあおじさんは後片付けがあるからここで。
Mion was apparently involved in the post-festival cleanup, and Rika-chan needed to attend some meeting with the executive committee members. Sadako was tagging along with her. So Ren and I decided to break off here and head home together.
じゃあね、ケイちゃん。また明日。
Then Mion waved her
あ、
hand.
ミオ。
Mion suddenly stopped when I called out to her. I wanted to ask about the incident, and why she wouldn't tell me about it. Then I remembered that the victims in the instance were the people opposed to the dam project. In other words, they were enemies of the Sonozaki family. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to ask about it.
また明日な。
Hot Pie is my bot, not me. You were being asked if you would consider doing a stream.
Like together?
You mean together or her own stream? Either.
I mean, I've considered doing the art stream. Just couldn't get a decent internet connection.
That shouldn't be a problem here.
Maybe we can do one together. If you'll have me.
There you go. If you like art, maybe. Maybe that's the thing. 'Cause you just did the one, right? The one art stream?
I did, and apparently the music from the 1700s that I used was copyrighted.
I had Mozart once that got copyright
I know.
stricken. It's like,
So
I fought that one and I won.
apparently I'm not supposed to use Mozart or Beethoven. I think it was Beethoven.
You can play it. The one that got me, that was during Steins Gate, was the what you call it? Whoever owns the rights to the game, they tried to claim that they own the rights to Mozart, and I was like, no, you do not.
Mrs. Pot Pie.
She's not married to my bot, guys.
また明日。
I had a vaguely confused look on my face as I saw Mion off. I'm not my own bot. I am me, okay? Not my bot. See, we're different people. As I did that, Rena looked back at me with a blank expression. That was not clearly me. Apparently this is your stream now.
So any revenue that you get from this stream, I get.
You get the money anyways, it goes to the plants.
Well, our anniversary is coming up, so you better make some money.
I just
Buy
spent
me a
money.
nice, buy me a nice dinner.
I bought you snow tires for the car, there you
This is
go.
fair.
Alright, so that was the first chapter. Got some tips from that. Oh, this was the music box one I was saying from before. So this is one of the opening themes for the... I think it was the Switch remake, and that's how they got ported in here. Or maybe it was the PlayStation 3 remake. Alright, so we have the dam supporter couple's falling accident. Lovely journal entry. Oh, newspaper article. From an evening paper on June, sometime 1980. Around 2 p.m. on some day, an office worker from Hinamizawa village in Shishibone City region, some man and his wife, someone, both went missing after falling into a mountain stream 27 meters below an observation deck in Shirakawa National Park. Police and firefighters searching downstream located the body of one of them around 7 p.m. the same night. The wife has still not been located. The mountain stream is especially active due to a Category 3 typhoon the other day, making the search more difficult. The husband and wife were leaning against a fence at the observation deck when both fell when the fence broke. The fence was old and in poor condition, so the police are questioning concerned parties to determine if the park facility personnel were taking adequate precautions. The park said yes, and then did nothing. And then we have housewife murder incident. This story was never published in the newspapers.
Newspaper talk.
Was that it? There's just nothing? Just like, man, was that actually it? I have to play that one again, because I did click off screen, but... Was that actually it? That was it, okay. Great. Perfect. That was weird. Okay, let's save. Oh, this will be the one game where I need all, what is this, 100 save files. It doesn't specify which game it's from, and there's 14 games. That'll be fun figuring out. Alright, let's continue. Rena waved to Mion as she came running over. I joined in and called out to her. I wanted to say something to thank Mion for all her hard work too. Even though it was a small village festival, it still involved the entire village. It was pretty big on its own scale.
結構大変だっただろう、後片付けって。
そうだね。3時くらいまでかかったかな。それから家に帰ってお風呂に入って寝たの4時半。
I took a moment to process Mion's response. My eyes shrank the moment I recognized the words 4:30.
4時半？ほとんど寝てないってことだろ？
If I was in that condition, there's no way I'd be going to school. Honestly, I truly felt that way.
ケイチ君、俺なら自主休校だって顔してるよ。はう。
Rena was reading my mind again.
ケイちゃんはわかりやすいからね。
According to Mion, the adults were still active until dawn. It was clear how passionate the villagers were about their festival. We were all chatting together as I put my hand on the classroom door. But just then, the crisis management system inside my brain immediately kicked in. Looked up above and sure enough, I saw a blackboard eraser. How sweet. I grabbed it and triumphantly stepped into the classroom. But the next moment, I found myself looking up at the ceiling. I slipped down and felt the mild pain of landing on my butt. To make matters worse, the blackboard eraser covered in white powder landed square on my face. When I tossed it aside and raised my upper body, I could see an abacus sliding away by my feet.
あら、ケイチさん。教室に入るなり爆中の披露とは、さすがエンターテイナーでございますわね。
I got up and headed toward the culprit as fast as I could. Whoosh. Thwack. My index finger traveled with tremendous momentum as it struck its target.
ケイチさんがデコピンした。今日はなかなか凶悪な罠でしたが、まだまだなのです。
It's not the worst of it. Brenda looked on the verge of fainting, and Mion looked stunned while watching the debacle. Everything was just like usual. All my classmates were here, and the atmosphere hadn't changed at all. Even though things were a little cloudy in the back of my mind last night, everything was starting to clear up. I felt relieved as I looked around the classroom. Without even thinking, a smile spilled across my face, the kind of smile a random bystander might think looked creepy. Brenda noticed my creepy smile and turned to me, looking concerned.
どうしたの、ケイチ君。ひょっとして頭ぶつけたのかな。
俺の受け身はバッチリだぜ。なんならもう一回やってもいいぞ。
別にいいよ、そんなの。
That would be what?
はーい、先生が来られたよ。みんな席について。
Everyone listened to Mion's command and took a seat.
皆さん、おはようございます。昨日はお祭りでしたね。最後まで後片付けに参加した人たちは本当にお疲れ様でした。さて、ここ数日はお祭りの取材で遠くからテレビや雑誌の取材の方が見えたりします。
Thought it was the usual stuff, so I was going to tune it out, but then I noticed the different tone in her voice and started paying attention.
皆さんが取材を受けることがあるかもしれませんが、曖昧なことやいい加減なことは言わないように。いいですね。
Is there a reason you're not narrating the teacher?
Pardon?
Is there a reason you're not narrating?
Oh, she's voiced. I don't... I know you can't hear because I have the headphones on, but I don't read out the voiced
I
lines.
see.
Did the teacher have... Oh gosh, the teacher looks creepy in the original art. In unison, everyone replied, "Yes, ma'am." Her words were jovial, but I understood what she was trying to say. After all, this was the 5th year. Reporters from talk shows and third-rate magazines are probably looking for a story, asking what the curse of the 5th year might be. As far as the villagers are concerned, I guess it's a major pain that only promotes a bad impression of the village. They're not going to give them what they want. This time, I'll be on the side of the villagers. In that case, I'll have to do my part. Adjusting myself to fit in the village atmosphere is an important step in deepening my ties with the village. Why do you feel like I went from basement to closet? Because this room is absolutely tiny. So you watch me, so from the camera to the door, it's about the span of my arms. And then I have my desk here, my wife's desk is there, and that's basically the entirety of the room. And there's like a tiny little closet at the very back. Technically, this is a bedroom. You could fit like a bed, a single bed, and like a nightstand, and that would be the entire room. Welcome back, Hat. You think your closet might be bigger? Probably, yeah. I'm sure there won't be any club activities today since everyone's still exhausted from last night. What should I do then? I haven't been to the Okonomi arcade in a long time. Just as I was thinking that, Mion patted me on the shoulder.
何ぼんやりしてるの、ケイちゃん。そろそろ部活始めるよ。
Oh, we're actually doing it? I completely set aside all the thoughts that were running through my head. I should have expected as much from Mion. She's not tired at all after yesterday. No, this game does not have the arcade minigames. I am resigned not to play any more of those, because that took like a whole hour and a half to beat. No, it wasn't just Mion. Rika-chan should have stuck around to help with the cleanup too. And Sadako went with her, so they're probably all still at the shrine until late last night. That's Trails in the Sky the Third, the game we were playing before this but haven't finished yet. Because it had the 3 types of doors. It had the star door, the moon door, and the sun doors. And I can't remember which is which off the top of my head, but one of them is the super long plot points that are like an hour and a half long each. One are the short plot points, which are like 15 minutes. And then there's the ones that are the mini games. You hope this game is chapters of books that are out of order? Well, I mean, this game chronologically takes place prior to the first game, but you're only supposed to play it after the third game, but it's also not on the main line of games, it's off a side branch. The moon door is what you get when you knock on my door before 6 a.m. Oh yes, let me on my phone I have I have Spotify Premium because Samus was asking about that in Canada and we were trying to figure that out. So the main game is 8, and then after the third it branches off to the side. There's 3 that are non-sequential, and then the third one has 4 sequential, and then there's more lines that come from the side, and then there's like another group of 3, and then another group of 3 that are non-connected to any of those. It's quite confusing. Samus's feels murderous when a random Twitch viewer sends them a meme with the caption, "Here comes the shower water hydrate." Is it broken? What part of it might be broken? Hero gets a big smile and both their parents. Writes them a birthday card which says, oh, is it just... No, you just got the same one. You just got unlucky. Like, very unlucky. Because there's like 150 quotes. Hero hates when their wife who writes them a birthday card which reads, "Balloon drag queen, best leader name of all time." So you look very confused. So...
You mispronounced waifu.
Waifu?
Waifu. I said wife. Gotta emphasize the waifu.
So, yeah, so this is just like random. I have like a bunch of random things. So it's like nouns, actions, and then it's quotes I have said on stream at some point in time. Quote 72. This thing scares me because I don't understand it. Yep. Nevertheless, they all seem to be acting in high spirits, but I'm sure the fatigue was still hiding there beneath the surface. I can't let this opportunity go to waste. I'll use this to take everyone down.
Keiichi, 何をニヤニヤしているのですか? きっと皆さん寝不足なので、今日は勝つチャンスだと思っているのでございますわ。
She's not... Guys, you're not married to my bot. She has her own channel. What is your channel? Is that your channel?
What now? Is it?
I think that
I
is.
don't have anything on it.
Yeah, that's the right one. There you go. He's absolutely right.
ケイチ、顔の色が変わりましたのです。あら、ケイチさん。
Wait, you can sell your channels? Does that mean your channels are worth money? Wait, it keeps bringing you... I have to open this now. I need to see. Oh, it adds an extra period to it. That's annoying. That period's causing problems. I'll have to look at that. But no, it did not take me to Deadbeard. I'll add that to my list of things to do. Shoutout command adds period to end. You're worth money because you have followers and 1 subscriber? Yeah, I have 1 tier 3 subscriber. Me. Everyone's eyes lit up at once. How could I forget? These are our battle-hardened club members. Don't you dare, Samsus! Mion pulled out a stack of cards and slammed them down. I sanded an ooh. A game from overseas, huh? This looks interesting. Is this just Clue? Rana's complexion didn't look so great. I guess she's not very good at this game either. It's Clue. There we go. It seemed there are 3 types of cards: suspects, weapons, and locations. I noticed me, Enrique, and everyone's names written on the suspect cards. Oh, there's even a card with my name on it. There are plenty of different weapon cards, too. An axe, a knife, even poison. And the location cards were pretty nice, too. A study, a courtyard, an attic, even the back of a gym. Who cares about the back of the gym? I see, so the cards that nobody has are the true perpetrators. Dang, Samus's.
Which color do you like? We can have them pick.
What is it for?
I'm going to be labeling all of my plants.
Okay. We've got a bunch of colors here to label plants. Anyone have a preference? And you're writing them on this arrow, right?
Yeah.
I feel like any of the blue-greens are a bit too close. I like the orange because it has a nice contrast. Purple's okay, too.
One of them is metallic.
We have 1 vote for orange. Oh, is the orange the metallic one? Looks like it.
The metallic one's like bronze, and there's a dark orange.
I was looking at that one. Yeah. So I was looking at that one. You cannot eat the colors. Yeah, I would say was that the bronze that we called it? Or that purple next to it would have been my next choice.
メモを取りながらじゃないと混乱するよ。ついてこられるかな。
Kinda quickly pulled out a paper to take notes on. She looks rather intense.
で、今回の罰ゲームは何だ、ミオ。
Everyone turned
そう
towards
だ
Mion.
ね。昨日の疲れも多少あるだろうからさ。今日はソフトに使いっ走りの刑はどう？みんなからお使いを頼まれて、それを買いに走るってわけ。
つまりジュースとかお菓子とかを買いに行かされるんだね。でも今日の罰ゲームはなんだか優しすぎる気がいたしますわ。
I wonder, is it
ケ
really?
イチはそうは思っていないようなのです。
Because you don't know what you'll have to go buy. This is Mion we're talking about. I'm sure she won't make the loser buy stuff like... Or I'm sure she'll make the loser buy stuff like hemorrhoid cream or athlete's foot medicine or something completely absurd. I carefully looked at Mion's face, and I could sense a glow in her eyes. Indeed, I need to do everything in my power to stay out of last place.
それじゃあ始めるよ。
Cards were lightly shuffled and passed out to each player. True culprit, murder weapon, and crime scene have been taken out, so that means all the cards I have in my hand are innocent cards.
一番手は昨べ一番頑張ったリカちゃんから。
ありがとうなのです。
What is this cutscene thing? Oh, this happens for all the art styles. You hope they programmed a full Clue clone? I don't think they did.
それでは
She missed Father Kevin. Father Kevin will come back.
中庭。
Pick one suspect, weapon, and murder scene and ask the other players. If you have any of those cards, you must say I have one. However, you don't need to say which one you have.
あ、俺持ってるぞ。
レナもあるよ。
私もだ。
Okay, all three of those are...
完全な投資ですわね。
Okay, so it's not Sadako, it's not... What was it? The Axe? And it's not the Courtyard. Okay, for those of you playing it along at home, it's not Sadako, it's not the Axe, it's not the Courtyard. Fortunately, we don't know what all the cards are, so good luck trying to win. 3 people answered when she asked if they had Sadako, Axe, and Courtyard, so that means that Sadako, Axe, and Courtyard are all in the clear. Gotta jot that down. What's the answer, Samus's?
それでは私は
Gosh dang it, Samus, why'd you make us all lose the game?
ケイチ、ナイフ、屋根裏部屋でございますわ。
Only 2 people said they had one? It means out of Keichi, knife, and attic, one of those is part of the correct answer? The killer, the weapon, or the crime scene? No, because one person could have multiple, or the asker could have one of them. And here we go. Even if they say they have one, they don't have to say how many. It's possible that either Renner or Mion have 2 of the cards. It's totally a mind game.
じゃあ、今度は私の番だよ。
Wait, why doesn't Renna get, like, the cool eyes coming in look? Wait just a second, I'm still sorting things out.
遅いですわ、ケイチさん。
This is... So if you've ever played the travel version of Clue, it's quite similar to that one, except you don't have to actually move your piece around the board. And in the travel Clue, you go clockwise. So if you ask, you know, Sadako, Axe, Courtyard, you go clockwise. The person to your left would say, like, I have one or I don't have one, and they have to show it. They show it to the table. So it's a bit different, but it's closer to that than to actual Clue.
置いてきぼりにしてしまいましたよ。
黙っててくれ。
And yes, we are playing Clue in a video game. This game has me thinking more than I expected. Man, this feels like it's gonna be tough.
準備いいかな？
Oh, here we go.
鶴橋河川敷。
Wait a second. So that is her weapon. Are they just... Keichi? No, he's the baseball bat. Sadako is... They all have canonical weapons. This time only one person responded. That means... Wait, stay calm and think it over.
よっしゃー！犯人確定！
Here I am spinning around in circles, and Mion just now raises her
犯人は
hand.
リカちゃん。
Okay, so who had
競
Rika
技は鉄アレイで。
with the dumbbell on the back of the
体育館
gym?
の裏。どう？
Mion drew the cards out of the box. We checked to see if her deduction was right.
正解なのです。ふわ
Fly, you are now dead.
あ、あともう少しだったですのに。鉄アレイか毒物かピストルか決め手がなかったのでございます。鉄アレイは重いのです。僕は毒物でじわりじわりが
Thank
い
you
い
for that,
のです
Rika. For telling us how to actually kill people. She has no qualms saying something like that. Such a cute look on her face. She's definitely a demon.
ケイチ、怯えた目で僕を見ないでほしいのです。みー。
Was it all over my face?
ケイチさんはすぐに香り出るから分かりやすいのでございますわ。
At any rate, this is far more difficult than I expected. Deep down in my heart, I was feeling impatience. When I looked over at Rena, I noticed how pale her complexion looked. Apparently Ren and I were equally unskilled at this game. Our eyes met. It seemed like she had the same
お
thought.
やおや、二人ともなんかヤバヤバって顔だね。二人仲良くビリになってみる？
You haven't played Phasmo recently enough to know the evidence for Demon? So, yeah, I haven't played Phasmo in maybe like a month. I tried Ghost Hunter Core, like maybe a week or two ago. First of all, it's not worth your time picking up just yet, I don't think, personally, because it's like $20. And like literally you can enter the house and die immediately. And the ghost can just wander about and you have to try and like play stuff, and if it sees you, it'll run at you and just you have to try and like outrun it or like throw the cross or the statue of Mary at it, because there's like two versions of the crucifix. It's weird. That's no good. I imagine the scene, a sad man going out to buy hemorrhoid cream accompanied by a girl. I just shuddered to think about it.
ケイチはこのゲームが苦手そうなのです。
No, no, no.
そんなことはない。次で名探偵前原の実力を見せてやる。
I mean, by all means, watch someone play it on YouTube. It might be better if you had multiple people to play with. It was definitely... I played it solo on, like, their easiest difficulty. Yeah, you can watch me play it next time I play it.
あら、おっしゃいましたわね。
Pretty sure I still have it
遠
installed.
慮なく叩きのめして差し上げますわ。
Yeah, I still have it installed.
さあ、とこ、また食らいたいか？
I lined up my finger in the direction of her forehead and made a flicking gesture 2 or 3 times.
ケイチさんが脅迫してくるのでございます。よしよしなのです。ケイチ、自信がないからと腕力に訴えるのはずるいのですよ。
What is a better game like that is Pacify. It's a much smaller game. It's also much cheaper too. And I think it only has 3 maps, and it's not quite the same as like Phasmo or Ghost Hunter Core where you're trying to identify a ghost. In this one, there's like a ghost that like roams around a house and you have to collect stuff and do stuff with it so that you can escape. I personally prefer it. Not that I guess I'm a little bit better at that one.
Hey.
Once Riki-chan said that, I had to reflect on it. I had no choice but to forego my assault on Sadako's forehead. After a few more rounds, I was finally starting to grasp the trick to this game, but no matter how hard I tried, I was still a step behind. Me and the others were carefully studying one another's faces. There's no way I can compete with a master who can gather information just from the questions themselves. If I want to turn my overwhelming disadvantage around, I need to be ruthless. Get me all the various Phasmo likes and have a stream of just playing them. I mean, I'd be down, because what do I currently have? So for horror games, I've got Phasmo, I got Pacify, I got Ghost Hunter Core, Layers of Fear. That's not quite the same. I got Soma. Those are the ones on my list to play. The important thing isn't to find out the criminal, it's winning. This is my chance, my only chance.
ああ、ごめん。ちょっとお手洗い。
I was taking a gamble. Yeah, I've watched a bit of Layers of Fear. I think that was back when it was a beta, maybe? But yeah, the Ghost games. I know there's also the Mummy one that takes place in Egypt. I did look at that and concluded it wasn't something I was interested in at that point in time. Same with Ghost Hunter Core. Ghost Hunter Core was kind of on my list, and then Beardy bought it for me, as he does. But yeah, there's a couple others that come out, and I've got a couple people on YouTube I watch and see what they're playing. I needed a change of pace. The fresh air was helping me clear my head. I inhaled and exhaled 2 or 3 more breaths. At the same time I did some stretching exercises. I held my arms out in front of me and swung them back and forth while bending my knees. 1, 2, 3. Though I was easing the tension in my muscles, I was still on edge. Then I looked around the school grounds and saw some of our classmates still playing around. I never played like this after school when I lived in Tokyo. Why does my life back then feel so abnormal in hindsight? I stared off at the natural scenery in the distance. And I suddenly realized I can't keep going on like this forever. Today's game was still going. So I started to wonder if my plan was going to work. Victory was riding on the power of effective teamwork. Just then I noticed Ren exit the classroom, looking confused.
Keichi-kun, ひょっとしてレナのこと呼んだ?
As I got up from my seat, I winked over at Rena. It worked. Just as I was hoping for. I guess we have good chemistry after all. Moving on. Since we didn't have much time, I straight up asked Rena how many points she had scored today. Rena looked puzzled for a moment, then timidly opened her mouth.
ポイントマイナス6だよ。どうしてそんなこと聞くの?
Based on Rena's expression, I imagined it was pretty low, but I had no idea it was that bad.
このままだと俺たち2人のどちらかがビリだ。
じゃあレナが罰ゲームなのかな？
おいおい、そう簡単に諦めるなよ。勝ちに行こうぜ、勝ちに。
どうやって?
I brought my lips close to Rena's ear. Whisper, whisper.
そんなのいいのかな？
思い出せ、レナ。快速第2条。勝つためにはあらゆる努力を惜しまない。
そうだね。頑張るよ。
Rena assumed a fighting pose with all her might. When did Discord implement email notifications? I think it's always had those. Just... I think it had to be like you ignored all like your mobile pings and stuff, and then it would like email you like once a day or something, which I am also immediately turned off. At the beginning of the game, everyone would be focused on their own hand for a while, taking notes and whatnot. During that brief moment, Ren and I would quickly show our cards to one another. We'd reveal them under our desks, and all the while we'd be scribbling with our pencils. Even if the others looked up, their eyes would be drawn towards our moving hands. It's simply human nature. That was the whole point. If all goes well, nobody will notice a thing. We'll be operating with twice as much information as the other players, so our questions won't have any information gaps.
そうだね。これなら今日は勝てそうだよ。
勝てそうじゃない。勝つんだ。
And we can make Mion buy that hemorrhoid cream and athlete's foot medicine.
ケイチ君、顔がちょっと怖い。
We can win this, Rena. Can't be put off by a scary face or two.
それもそうだね。
We both smirked at each other. Ren and I would probably dig our way to last place before Mion managed to catch on. In fact, there was a good chance we could take first and second place. Not bad at all. Just you watch, Mion. But also, how many games have they played where Ren is currently sitting at -6, so there's at least 6. If Keichi's close, let's say he's like -4, -5, there's 10 games, and everyone else probably winning some. So you've played 30 games of Clue? After Rena went back to the classroom, I took a few deep breaths before heading back myself. I did my best to avoid making eye contact with Mion. Your eyes can say as much as your mouth, isn't that what they say? Mion is pretty smart. She usually has good intuition. So I carefully looked her over. I was fairly confident that Mion had no knowledge of my conspiracy.
よし、ゲーム再開だよ。
Mion held her arms up high. Just then, Chie-sensei came over.
園崎さん、
Samus's is being weirdly snuggly? Seems weird and suspicious.
ちょっといいですか？何ですか、先生。ごめんみんな、ちょっとタイムね。
After saying that, Mion walked over to the
園崎
teacher.
さんにお客さんがいらしてますよ。
That is a good point, Samus's. That is a good point. That was from one of the Beardy songs he made. The suspicious songs. It's one of the lines from it. In fact, most of the lines from it are part of the suspicious command.
昇降口へ行ってください。お客さん、私にですか？そうです。早く行ってらっしゃい。わかりました。ってことでさ。
Yes, it is you talking about your cat.
おじさん、ちょっと行ってくるから。
After saying that, Mion rushed out of the classroom.
兄ちゃんにお客さんって誰かな？かな？
ミオンさんはとてもお顔が広いですから、時々誰かが訪ねてらっしゃいましたよ。
そうです。ミーは顔が広いのですよ。
そっか。仕方ないよな。
I gave a bitter look towards the way Mion left. Hero was ready to make her speechless. This sucks. At any rate, who on earth could be visiting Mion? Yes, I'm aware of that new feature. We've been waiting for a while now. There's still no indication that Mion was coming back.
ミオンさん、なかなか帰っていらっしゃらないですわね。
Did I do this? No, but Beardy's first thing he did was in Sherb's stream mark me as suspicious.
僕たちは
There's also mod notes, so you can add notes about any user.
ブーブー。
So if you want to add a note like, oh, this person was saying some questionable things, so it'll appear to other moderators, or if they come back in a future stream. However, the only known time I've seen it being used was one moderator calling a user a dickhead and marking them as that for all the other moderators. And yes, you can't mark other mods.
どんなに可愛くてもゲームが終わるまではダメ。
でもちょっとくらいならダメかな
終わってからにしなさい。
We had a problem on our hands. Looked like everyone was starting to get impatient and
しょう
bored.
がない。ゲーム再開しようぜ。
Once I broached the subject, everyone's eyes brightened and they nodded to me. Right, think about it. We're moving while the demon is away. In other words, this visitor's arrival has given us a chance. So with Mion's seat still vacant, we shuffled the cards and dealt them out at once. Sure enough, Rika-chan and Sadako carefully focused on scribbling down notes. Meanwhile, I pretended to take notes while revealing my hand to Rena under my desk. Sadako, Rena, pistol, knife, cemetery, storage shed. That means the possibility that any of the other cards is the answer was high. Rena quickly jabbed me with her
何を
elbow.
笑っているでございますか、ケイチさん。非常に気持ちが悪いのですよ。みー。
Whoops, no time to be laughing. I need to come up with a good excuse.
このメンツで実際に犯罪やってることを想像したらさ。
意味はわかりませんが、なぜだか非常に不愉快でございますわ。さとこ、乗ってはいけないのです。おそらくケイイチのミスリードなのですよ。
And when is that, Samus's? Sadako and Rika-chan laughed together with an oh and a nipa. Meanwhile, Rena was beside me, wiping away her cold sweat.
それでは、現在2位の僕から行きますのです。では、レナ、ピストル、屋根裏部屋。
あ、俺持ってるぞ。
レナもあるよ。私も持ってましたよ。そうですか。では、投資なのですね。
That confirms the location, but the weapon is still unclear. Alright, I wonder if now is the time to go
今度は
for
俺
it.
だな。じゃあ、リカ、灰皿、ラウンジ。
私は持ってましたよ。僕もなのです。レナはないよ。
Now see, that means it's not that one, right? Wait, hold on. I'll look through my notes, then bam, it came to
じゃ
me.
あ、犯人確定。
もうでございますか？ケイチ、早すぎる男は嫌われるのです。
I thrust my index finger up towards the heavens, then shouted the name of the killer, the weapon, and the location.
犯人はミオン、凶器は斧で、犯行現場は図書室。どうだ？
I pulled the answer cards out of the box to verify my solution.
ケイチくん正解。ふぬー、まさかミオンさんとは。斧なんかダメなのです。
Oh, Ella's here. How is Ella doing?
やっぱり毒物でじわりじ
Yeah,
わ
how
り
we're
という
playing
のです。
Clue. Rika-chan, you have some interesting hobbies. Why is Ella sad? Is it because I'm not calling her Oreo? Still, you've got an awfully soft face while saying some hard things. You don't feel like we're playing Clue? Ren and I continued carrying out our plan, but Rika-chan and Sadako weren't stupid. We made good progress after a while, trading wins between us, but we had to start being more cautious. And finally, I was taken by surprise. I thought Sadako was taking notes, but she was actually holding a small handheld mirror under the desk. And I noticed Rika-chan's sharp gaze staring straight at me through the mirror. I tried to hide our cheating, but it was already too late.
あら、そういうことでございますか、お二人とも。ねえ、そうなれば僕たちにも考えがあるのです。
Yeah, this is very true. Rika-chan and Sadako looked at each other and smiled. From that point on, it was battle between Team Keichi and Rena and Team Sadako and Rika-chan, duking out in a coordinated attack. Then nearly an hour later, when we were in the middle of our 13th game, Mion finally came back.
どうしたの、みーちゃん。
And suddenly it's Gundam? Rena must have noticed something for her to ask that. Now that she mentioned it, something does look odd about Mion. It's like she has no energy.
いや、なんでもないよ。
Mion responded as such, but her expression made it clear she wasn't feeling alright. But the next moment...
なんじゃー。
Unsurprisingly, since Mion was out, the four of us had managed to collect an enormous number of points in her absence. Mion must have realized the moment she saw the score sheet. No matter how hard she tries, it will be impossible for her to turn the point deficit around.
とほほ。今日は代わりに買い物行ってもらう予定だったのに。
The moment Mion slumped down to her seat, a note hanging from her pocket fell out. So I picked it up and took a look. What?
わあ、いっぱい書いてあるね。
豆腐2丁、シャンプーとリンス、みりんに油揚げ。なんだこれ。
It says gopher penalty.
これお前が頼まれたお使いだろう。
Mion let out a laugh.
お使いさせるためにこのゲームを始めたのか、お前は。
I don't know why people want such big houses. I don't need a big house. Just too much stuff. When I looked at Mion, I was relieved to see she was acting like her usual self. Still, I felt a little bad that she was given the penalty when she wasn't even here. However...
はい、みーちゃん。これ、レナのお買い物だからよろしくね。
You want 10 rooms all to yourself? Now, is it 10 rooms all to yourself or 10 rooms for yourself and your cats? It's an important distinction. Wait, all this time I spent worrying about this game, you're sitting there writing a shopping list?
くー、私たちもお買い物リスト作ってあ
Oh,
り
the
ました
11th
の
room
に。
is for the cats. Gotcha.
残念なのです。みー。
Even though it was such a close race, they had time to make a list, too? Felt a cold sweat dripping down my back. You're all demons. Yeah, the housing market is insane. Rena spun around in a swooshing motion and started walking toward her house. Come on, now you're just imitating Mion. We've been walking at a swift pace for a while, and somewhere along the way, Rena started skipping.
変なもん踏んで転ぶなよ、レナ。
What is a manageable distance from your job to you? Just out of sheer curiosity.
全然平気だよ。
Not the answer I was looking for. After club activities wrapped up, Ren and I walked home from school together. She seemed in especially high spirits today. This was the first time she ever claimed first place in a logic game. But even so, she looked as happy as a kid at a festival. That smile on her face, she handed me on that shopping list. It's like finally getting even for a long-standing grudge, He did so by saying thanks, with thunder crackling in the background. That's how it felt anyways. 45 minutes? It's not bad. Yeah, I've had both commutes that are 45 minutes. The worst I had was about 3 hours driving.
Absolutely not my fault.
Not your fault, no.
Why do we have so much time?
Yeah, Samus is 3 hours. So here's Toronto. I was on one side of the city, like past the city in the suburbs, and I had to go across the city to the other side by car. Because if I did it by public transit, it was like 4 transfers, and I think it was like 3.5 hours. Yeah, daily. So if I would leave stupid early in the morning, I would be out of the house at 5:45 in the morning because the traffic was less then. But then when I got there, it was the kind of work like I couldn't start until. Well, I guess I could start earlier, but I had to stay until 4 o'clock, no matter how early I got there. So I'd leave at 4 o'clock each day. And if the traffic wasn't too bad, it might be 2 to 2.5 hours. But anytime there was like any accident or anything like that, it was instantly at least 3 hours. And that probably happened at least twice a week. And this was all in the summer. I don't even want to know what it would be like in the middle of winter with like a foot of snow. So yeah, so I was driving like 4 to 6 hours a day. Yeah. And I was going through 2 full tanks of gas every week. So yeah, that was just for like a training thing, and then like afterwards they moved me into the city, and then it became like a 40-minute trip, so then it wasn't so bad. But that like 3 months of training was just killer. Because I'd be like I said, I was out of the house at 5:45 in the morning, and then I'd be getting home around probably no earlier than like 6:15, 6:30. So about 13 hours out of the house minimum. But yeah, now we work from home, so it's the 1 minute from my bed to my laptop. I was still thinking those pointless thoughts as I reached my house. I put my hand on the doorknob and... Huh? It won't open. Oh, nobody's home. Dad and Mom left to do something for Dad's work. I pulled the key with the fur seal keychain out of my pocket, intending to unlock the door. Then I slid it in the keyhole and gave it a turn, and pushed the front door open. The house felt empty, and felt quiet and empty with nobody inside. Just like the moment people step out of a house, it starts to feel like an abandoned house. I slipped my shoes off, then made my way upstairs. I sat my bag down inside my room and thought about what to do. While I was lying on the bed, my stomach started to growl. I need to get something before dinner time. And then after dinner time. And also dinner time, and just always be eating. So I made my way down the stairs and around to the kitchen, and started randomly opening the refrigerator and cabinet doors.
Nai.
No matter where I looked, I couldn't find anything to eat. My shoulders slumped and I let out a deep sigh. You literally have something here. There's, like, I don't know what that is. Is that rice balls or potatoes? I can't quite tell. There's literally something drawn there.
Potatoes.
It's potatoes. There you go. You know, shouldn't parents leave something for their kids when they go out? I complained about that before, but Mom said something flippant like, "You can just buy anything from anywhere," and took that as an excuse not to make me anything. Yeah, that's right. But being left with nothing at all is still annoying. Humans are selfish creatures. I spoke softly to myself. Why? Because you wouldn't just let me say something like that. Neon came in last by far in today's club activity. Naturally, Ren and I were tied for first place. Eventually, Rena gave Neon her shopping list. Then she approached me as though she were about to devour me.
こうなったら一人も二人も一緒だよ。さあ言え、すぐ言え、何買ってこいってか。
It's the first time in my life someone had threatened to buy me something. But it couldn't be helped, so I gave her my request. At that moment, Mion simply tilted her
こ
head.
れ？これだけでいいの？しかもこれ？
I heard it over and over. Yes, that's fine. Hurry up and buy it. I'm getting hungry. Just as I was about to shout that, when I heard the doorbell, I headed over to the entrance and opened the door to find Mion waiting there.
はい、これ。
What are your specs, Samuses? Besides 10 rooms for yourself and the 11th for your cats.
ナイスタイミングだ。
ケイちゃん、
That's pretty much it.
さっき天に向かって「ミオン早く買ってこい!」って言ってたでしょ。
なんでだ。
やっぱり
なんでわかったミオン。
だって声が聞こえたもんね。
本当か。
Mion cackled herself as the panicked, that can't be true look started to show on my face. She got me.
それにしてもなんでこんなものをお使いに？しかもたった1個。
Her eyes fixated on the one thing I asked her to buy. Cup noodles. Specifically the big name variety Deca Cup. Tonkatsu pork and ginger flavor.
いいだろ別に。好物だし、俺の今日の夕飯だし。
これ夕飯だったの？
だっておふくろ今日は留守だからさ。
なあなあ、それなら何か作ってきてあげた方が良かったかな。
ミオンが？お前料理できるのか？
失礼な。おじさんを見くびっ
You
ちゃ
don't
い
like
け
her
ない。
smirk face.
料理は得意中の得意なんだからね。
Mion put her hands on her hips as she mouthed off at me. I couldn't believe it. With that face and that getup, it can't be true.
何よその顔。
だって実際に見てないしな。
んだ、いつか見せてやる。その時はギャッフーンと言わせてやるからね。
ああ、楽しみにしてるぞ。
Then Mion grabbed her bags as she delivered that answer with a smile. Both her hands were full with huge shopping bags. Wow, that's a massive load of stuff. I took a quick glance at the contents. 500 grams of pork, 2 packs of eggs, 5 servings of tofu, 4 milk cartons, 1.8 liters of soy sauce, then some carrots, long onions, pumpkin, regular onions, potatoes, beans, cabbage, shiitake mushrooms, king trumpet mushrooms, spinach, bean sprouts. Looking a bit more closely, I noticed a variety of spice bottles. You don't like her posture? Her hands look empty. Her hands do look empty, man. I assume they're just on the floor. That would be weird if she's like holding them and he's like leaning over to look into the bags. Mion pulled Renda's shopping list out of her pocket and started reading out the names of the spices.
ね、色をつける組料でサフラン、パプリカ、ウコン、クチナシでしょ。それから辛みをつける辛味料で胡椒、唐辛子、わさび、からし。最後に香りをつける香味料でクローブ、ミント、タイム、ローズマリー、セージ、バジル、フェンネル、キャラウェイ、フェンネルシード、アニアス、オレガノ、クレソン、ケイバー、月桂樹の葉、コリアンダー。
Each time she listed a name, I compared it to the label on the vial. And then, all the way on the bottom of the bag, I found an entire watermelon.
だってレナ、今度本格料理に挑戦するんだって言ってたからね。
You should just try moving out of state, out of country, off this planet. Yeah, some of those were said in English. Which I guess would make sense if the spices weren't native to Japan. And they didn't have a name for them beforehand. Wait, you're already on the moon, Samus? How did you get to the moon? And how's the Wi-Fi there? It must be pretty good. Even if she said that, aren't there limits to these things? Just what was she planning to make? Authentic curry or Italian cuisine? Wait, you've been on the moon for 6 years? You want to own half the moon? Yes, you can have the inside, and Samus's can have the outside. There you go. Moreover, it wasn't just the one bag. Mion had another equally daunting shopping list filling another
ミ
bag.
オお前これ全部持ってきたのか？
そうだよ。だって罰ゲームだしね。
I looked Mion in the eyes, and I could see the toll the weight was taking on her arms. She had a calm look on her face, but I could see the streaks of her muscles running down her neck and along both her arms, sapping her of all her strength.
そんじゃあケイちゃん、また明日。よっと。
Mion looked back, then started clumsily walking down the path. You have to help Samus move the rooms he has on that side of the moon. It felt like the earth was bending under the extreme weight. I suddenly started running over to her.
待てったら。
どうしたの？
俺どうせ暇だし一緒に持ってってやれよ。
As soon as I said that, I grabbed one of the shopping bags and immediately started walking.
いいよ。
Are you gonna build a fence on the moon now?
あ、いいってば。ちょっと。
I figured she would shoot me down, so I had to start walking without asking permission. Eventually, I could hear Mion's footsteps approaching from behind. Then, once she caught up to me, she started walking beside me and
あり
smiled.
がとう。
Huh?
やっぱりちょっと重かったからね。
Mion was being surprisingly amicable. Normally, she would have flat out refused, but there was clearly something different about Mion today. It was like her usual tomboy demeanor had vanished or something. Our shadows moved side by side as we walked down the sunny road. The cries of the Higurashi echoed all around us.
どうしたミオ？
But she doesn't understand cats? No one understands cats. That's why they're cats. It was bugging me, but I decided to ask more directly.
何が？
Samus's teach us what... How are cats? What are cats? How do they work?
いや元気がないみたいだから。
別に。
Mion simply muttered that, and we returned to walking in silence. And then...
あのさ、
何？
I opened my mouth again to ask about the subject that had been bothering me all day.
部活の時間に呼び出されただろ。あれ誰が来たんだ？
ああ。
Cats are
ちょっ
pillows?
とね。
But they're pillows that only like to be touched for like exactly 3 seconds?
ちょっと何？
Oh, is that why you're sleep deprived? Because your cats only let you sleep on them for 3 seconds? When she came back, she seemed completely drained. Brenna noticed it too and even asked Mion about it. It's been bothering me too for a while now.
もしかして夕べのことか？
The moment I said that, Mion took a deep breath and stopped. Oh, there's the best eyes. How do they look? Oh, this one's still the creepiest. She turned to look around, then looked straight at me. It's those eyes again. Her eyes lit up just like she was asking Shion about her conversation on the night of the Wadanagashi.
夕べって。
Yeah, Ella's a croissant, but Hiro is a butcher. And a serial killer, apparently.
夕べのことって何？
I flinched the moment her eyes started glaring at me. The intensity felt like it was strangling me. Fear can sometimes drive people to completely illogical things when faced with an opponent whose power vastly surpasses their own. Hero will feed you to the old people? Um, are we being fed as meat pies with like a musical number going on? They won't complain about the meat for once. So I recklessly opened my mouth again and kept
だ
asking.
から、祭りの後に何か起きたのかなって。ほら、たたりで人が変な死に方したり、急に行方不明になったりするって聞いたからさ。
Mion didn't say anything at all. Maybe she was feeling frustrated deep in the bottom of her heart. It was a rather naive and childish question. However, Mion continued intently gazing at
誰
me.
から聞いた？
Do you taste yourself often? I haven't tasted myself in a while. I don't taste very good right now.
誰から聞いた？
I struggled to answer her.
誰から？誰から？
Both of Mion's eyes were open incredibly wide. Bang. Mion released a grip on the shopping bag and slammed it down on the ground. Contents of the bag spilled out and scattered across the street. For a moment, it felt like the world stopped moving. And then... a damp breeze blew a fishy aroma all around. Oh, is this inverted in all versions? Yes, it is. I wonder if they just applied an inverse to the whole image. That way they didn't have to worry about inverting the image for each scene. Mion looked surprised when she finally noticed. Then she crouched down on the street and started collecting the scattered contents from the bag. You guys think eating 6 oranges a day would be unhealthy? Unhealthy? No. But after a certain point, the vitamin C and other vitamins in oranges, your body wouldn't gain any effect from it, and you just pee it out, so it would be useless. But I mean, I don't think it would be unhealthy. Help Mion gather the groceries she dropped. Meanwhile, Mion idly said what she was already certain of. I couldn't say anything to the contrary.
やっぱりあいつ余計なこと。
She spit out those words like a curse.
別にシオンは。
But I couldn't figure out what else to say.
かないで。
All of a sudden, Mion said something, but it was too quiet for me to hear it. I mean, it might be. You'd probably have to eat a huge amount. In the same way that you can die from having too much caffeine, but it's something in the order of like 100 or 200 cups of coffee. I turned to look straight toward Mion, and although she was still looking downward, I could see her mouth moving. What is it, Mion? What are you saying?
シオンにもう近づかないで。
The weight of those words crushed me. In a flash, the distance between our faces shrank, and Mion's sharp eyes were clearly visible. I felt like I was trapped by an ominous shroud of darkness. I couldn't move.
シオンにはもう近
That is
づ
a
いちゃダメ
huge
だ。
amount of oranges. I nodded to her, terrified, but I couldn't say anything. Suddenly, Mion's eyes turned back to normal. The next moment, Mion was cackling out loud.
ケイちゃん。その格好。
I finally noticed that I'd fallen back onto my butt and was sitting in the middle of the road. She would want that many if you let her. How undignified.
カエルみたいだよ。
I A frog.
ひっくり返って腹出したカエル。
Mion was rolling with laughter. This was the normal Mion, right? Mion and I gathered all the groceries that spilled out, then resumed our walk towards Rena's house. After walking for a while, Mion began to speak in a quiet voice.
ケイちゃんは私の仲間だからね。
Actually, citrus things have citric acid. Would it, like, eat a hole in your stomach? Would it cause an ulcer first? And hello, Butler, how's it going? And gathering your faculties? Well, I hope you find where you place them. Mion turned to me and smiled after saying that, then continued.
落ち着いたら全部話す。
Just lurked. That is fine.
約束する。だから
I do that all
もう
the
シオン
time.
に近づかないでね。
I couldn't say anything more. When she saw that, Mion looked downward, hiding her expression.
おいたが過ぎるね。
Should mark Irish
シ
as suspicious for lurking?
オンあんまり嗅ぎ回るようなら。
Watermelon's overrated. That's my take on it. It's messy, it's big. It doesn't really have a strong taste. Maybe I've just never had the good watermelon. It can't be helped. Yes, I agree with you on that. Watermelon cubes over a slice. Or if you're doing the slice, you don't get like the ones where it's like you chop the watermelon in half and then you cut this way, and then you have a piece that's like the size of your head. Then you chop it in half a couple more times. Then you have the pieces that are like hand-sized and like you can, actually get into the corners of it. Pineapples where it's at? No. Don't agree there. As she said that, it felt like Mion's shadow was creeping ever closer. The cry of the Higurashi echoed around me once again. I've never been a big pineapple person. You can't cut an entire watermelon to cubes into 3 minutes, though. That's right, I bought that new manga recently. Looked around my room, hoping to find where I left it. Mom was around, she'd probably nag me by saying, "You're reading manga again? Go study." Oh, you can cut an entire watermelon into cubes in about 3 minutes. So, I mean, there's no excuse not to cube your watermelon, then. Manga is a Japanese tradition harking back to the work of Utamaro and Hiroshige, but even if I tried explaining that to her, she wouldn't listen. Manga is a part of Japanese culture. I'm confident that overseas markets will benefit from the introduction of Japanese manga. I feel like the time for that isn't far off. I was absent-mindedly pondering those trivial thoughts. I just got home a little while ago, and suddenly we have creepy organ music. I was starting to feel sorry for Mion after the penalty when she got stuck with, so I helped her carry half the bags. We walked through Hinamizawa side by side, carrying those huge shopping bags. I carried the bags to Rena's house, but she was out on an errand. I was hoping for a chance to show Rena the enormous bags Mion was carrying and say, "Please ask for a little more," but it seemed we missed our opportunity for that. After that, I walked Mion back to the Sonozaki house, then came home. However, on the way to Rena's house, I broached the subject of what happened after the festival. It was careless of me. In other words, I was asking Mion about the curse, the topic I knew she had no interest in discussing. Admittedly, I never stopped being interested in the story, not since the night of the festival when I spoke with Shion along the riverside and she told me about the victims so far. but there's nothing admirable about asking someone about a topic they'd rather not discuss. But even so, I focused on the last thing Mion said. Oh, you can't set me up for this. Okay, what was the last thing Mion said? The last thing Mion said was, you drive fast, you hit him in the ass. Your favorite pizza is just plain cheese? When we get pizza, our go-to is mushroom and... what was it? I always get it confused. The fish one. Anchovy? Or is it sardine? Might be sardine. I always get it mixed up. Because we love how super salty it is. I think it's sardine. I think it's mushroom and sardine. She seemed especially upset that I heard about the curse from Shion. What on earth did she mean by that? Why is there like people being tortured in the background? Like, jeez. What prank was she referring to? What was Shion poking around in? When I looked at Mion's shadow, I felt like I could see the heat radiating out of her, but was that just my imagination? I think Samus is saying, like, do you get the like jalapenos? Are they just put on raw, or are they like fried or toasted or like? The cries of the Higurashi continued to ring aloud and only compounded my insecurity. Suddenly, I noticed the bag from the bookstore laying on its side under my desk. Ah, that's the one I just bought. It's finally time for me to have some alone time reading my favorite manga. Like your bacon and pizza raw. I heard the phone ringing downstairs. It's not like I have a phone just, right here on my desk, I debated if I should keep reading. I scratched the back of my head while thinking it over, then closed the book.
Hi. もしもし。
もしもし、ケイちゃん？私だよ。ミオン。
It was Mion, who I'd only just parted
あれ、
with.
今何してたの？
Even if she asked, I didn't necessarily have to tell her. Huh?
出たばかりの新刊読んでたのかな？
How did she know all that? I immediately started looking all
それ
around
でケ
me.
イちゃん、今は慌ててキョロキョロしてると。
She watching me from somewhere? That's impossible. I felt irritated and embarrassed.
何の用だよ。俺をからかって楽しいのか？
あ、怒った？ごめん、ふざけちゃったね。
Hiro, you're like my wife. She likes her steak as blue as possible. The least amount of time it can be cooked without, like, causing food poisoning is how she likes it. I guess I was being a little blunt
あの
there.
さ、ちょっと今から会えるかな？
なんだ？さっき会ったばかりなのに。
さっきって？
なんだよ。レナのうちの分と。
I'm probably about medium rare too, yeah.
片方持ってやったんじゃないか。
I didn't expect them to be so heavy.
そうだったね。
なんだよ。俺にそんなに会いたいってか？
You're going to bed, Samuses? Alright, take care. I tried to joke around with her, but for some reason, Mion didn't respond with a comeback like usual. She just remained
あれ、
silent.
ミオ、どうした？
I don't hate steak. I just think steak is overrated as a food.
うん。
There are many other meats I would rather have. Ribs, chicken wings, When someone eats me, you can find out how they rate me.
なんでもない。
But she seemed unusually ill-tempered. She really feeling okay?
で、なんだ？何か話してもあるのか？
ごめんね。電話じゃちょっと。
Was it something so important that she didn't feel comfortable discussing it over the phone? I thought about what kinds of topics she wouldn't want to talk about over the phone. I could only think of one. I debated if it would be better not to say anything, but in the end I spoke
もし
up.
かして、たたりの話か？
She fell silent for a moment.
そうだとしたら、
Even if she said yes, what was I expecting?
聞きたくない。
I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to hear it. I thought Mion didn't want to talk about it. Why did she suddenly change her mind? Did something happen to her?
もし嫌なら別にいいよ。無理にとは言わないし。
Hold on, I never said that I didn't want to talk about it. Still...
じゃあ、沖宮の図書館まで来て。
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, like, if someone's like, hey, let's go to eat, I don't think steakhouse. Or if I go to a place, I don't think of steak as what I want to order. I'm going to think of pasta. I love ordering pastas. Burgers, sushi. There's a whole bunch of other food. Steak doesn't even cross my mind. Even if you're going to, like, a bar and grill, I'm probably going to get, like, a burger, or if a place has meatloaf, I'll usually order the meatloaf, even though I've had bad experiences with that, because not every place does their meatloaf well. But yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. 9 times out of 10, I'll order the pasta. If there's lasagna, I'm ordering the lasagna. Hands down. Like, unless I've gone to the same restaurant like a dozen times, I'm ordering your lasagna. I had no choice but to reply okay. I felt an invisible but overbearing power coming from the other end of the receiver. I flew off on my bike. As I pedaled my bike, I kept thinking.
でも、なんでわざわざ沖宮の図書館なんだ？
Is it something we can't discuss around here? Are you planning to reveal some deep, deep secret? The more I thought about it, the more suspicious I started to feel. When I arrived at the library, Mion was waiting for me at the entrance.
ケイちゃん。
I waved in response to Mion, then fixated on what she was wearing.
何？なんかついてる？
いや、何も。
She was dressed in her casual clothes. Aside from that, she didn't look any different.
夕飯の準備はもう終わったのか？
Mion looked puzzled for a moment.
どうして？
Since she did all that shopping earlier, I figured she'd make something substantial for dinner tonight.
はあ、終わって出てきたとこ。
Mion spoke lightly, like it was no big deal. Was it really possible for her to make dinner that fast?
うちのおふくろも料理上手だけど。
Even with expert level skill, the volume of raw materials would require an impossibly large amount of effort to prepare.
そんなことないって。材料は多いけど2人暮らしだからね。私とバッチャと。
Yeah, I hear that. Come to think of it, she did say something like that a while ago.
話して。
Oh, it's the face that Samus hates. Let's look at all the That's just like... Yeah, this is the evilest one. I looked straight at Mion.
ケイちゃんが思ってる通り。
That's all their ideal meal and you just got tired of it? Yeah. My dad is like that. So his mom was born and raised in India, so she loved making Indian curries. So growing up, they'd have curry 3 or 4 times a week, and my dad just got so sick of it. Cold breeze suddenly blew past, and a cold light came pouring out of Mion's eyes. with an intense beastly light hiding underneath, just like when we were walking home together earlier. He continued staring at Mion. Why did she suddenly decide to talk about it if she hated the subject so much? Not sure if Mion was frustrated with my lack of response, but she furrowed her brow like she was in a bad mood.
嫌ならやめよう。
My attitude seemed to be upsetting her. Mion's expression was looking more and more fed
いや
up.
あの話をするの嫌がってたはずなのにどうしたのかなって。何かあったのか？
別に聞きたくないならいいよ。
Mion's expression grew more grim, like I had hurt her feelings. There's no reason not to hear it. I still had no idea what was going on with Mion, but frankly, I was glad that she was willing to talk about it. More than anything, I was deeply interested in learning more about those frightening events.
待てよミオン。
どうなの？聞くの？聞かないの？
Her eyes were cold, like she was looking down on me. I began to sulk the moment I saw those eyes. I've come this far, I can't turn back now, can I?
聞きたいに決まってるだろ。そのために来たんだから。
じゃ、中で話そうか。
Tater tot casserole? I get it, but sometimes you crave it. The only food in my lifetime that made me, I guess, like sick thinking about it, and this was for only a year, was chicken parmesan and red wine. And it had nothing to do with the chicken parm and red wine. It just happened to be that that was the meal I ate before I had an awful, like, stomach virus. And just afterwards, like, I, through no faults of the food, and I know it wasn't the food because I was with a bunch of other people before that who got, like, the same stomach virus. So I know it had nothing to do with the food. It just happened to be the last thing I ate, and just, like, by association was the thing that I was like, oh. Actually, that and when I used to get, you know, like the stomach flu, my mom had read that you're supposed to drink like Gatorade or Powerade, one of those, you know, like drinks that has like electrolytes and vitamins and stuff. So anytime I had, you know, like the flu or something, she'd get, you know, a 24 case of Powerade, I think it always was. And it's not fun when you're drinking a Powerade and then you're throwing it up in the toilet a couple hours later. It really makes you not like it. So there was a long time when I didn't like any of those, and I still don't really drink them. I guess if it's there, I would drink it, but it's not something I go out of my way to drink. The lounge looked vacant. We took a seat in the corner. Leon surveyed the area once again to make sure nobody else was around, then turned to me.
二度と同じこと言わない。だから、よく聞いて。
A chill ran through me. My blood froze as she stared into
引き
me.
返してもいけないってことか。
してほしくない。詮索もしないでほしい。
ちょっと待てよミオ。詮索されたくないってどういう意味だよ。
ここで聞いたことを調べたり、他の誰かに確かめたり、絶対にするなってこと。
I wanted to speak up, but I held back. After all, responding to questions seemed simple enough. I got the feeling there would be details to call attention to during the story. Surely some questions would arise during the hour or so she was going to spend telling me the story. At any rate, even if I'm not allowed to question people about it, there are probably written materials recorded somewhere that I could research. Plus, I get the feeling that I need to learn about this in order to properly become a part of this village. Thinking about it, human beings are simple creatures with an innate interest in matters like this. What is still hidden? What on earth are they trying to hide?
わかった。約束する。ここで聞いた話を絶対に詮索しない。誰かに聞こうとしない。これでいいだろう。
Mion nodded in agreement. Come to think of it, that was the second time today I made a promise to Mion. I promised to stay away from Shion, and I promised not to investigate the story any further. Was there some contradiction between those two, or an
これからする
inconsistency?
話、お社様のたたりの話なんだよな。つまり、綿流しの後、 何かが起きた。今年も何かが起きて、誰かが犠牲になった。
Yep. And that's true of anything. That's true of meat, that's true of veggies. And how they cook it. There's just so many things. It wasn't until we moved into this house and my wife, who's a pretty good cook, got, like, you know, a nice Japanese knife. And the first time I cut an onion with it, I was just like, holy crap. Knives we had at home were absolute trash. I just thought I was bad at cutting onions. No, our knives just sucked. Yon carefully looked into my eyes, then slowly began to speak.
富武さんが綿流しのお祭りの晩、どうやら死んだらしい。うん、間違いなく死んだって。バッチャから聞いてさ。
My mind went blank. What, huh? What happened to Tomitake-san? I promised not to ask any questions, so I repeated it over and over inside my head. What happened to Tomitake-san? What happened to Tomitake-san? That question repeated over and over inside my head, throbbing at the back of my ears. I could hear it bouncing back and forth, echoing and echoing. What happened to Tomitake-san? Suddenly, Mion put a hand on my shoulder. Even though that caused my entire body to stiffen, Mion moved her face closer and continued.
どういう意味かわかるよね。
What was she getting at? I didn't understand. Why did he die? What killed him? Was there a reason for it? Mion said that he died on the day of the Watanagashi. In other words, it's this year's curse of Oyashiro-sama. It happened again.
そう。あったの。富武さん、死んでしまったの。
Oh, that's crazy. That's unbelievable. You can't just say something like that so coldly like it was nothing. Don't you remember our fun parting farewell? How can you remain calm while saying that? Even so, what was the meaning of this? What the hell happened? Indeed, my head was still shaking from all the questions swirling around inside, but Mion started giving me more details about the incident involving Tomitake-san. Is this game as long as Steins Gate? No. So the reason why I picked this one is I'm only here for like 2 or 3 streams before Christmas break. And this game, I found someone online who had gone into the game file and figured out how many lines of dialogue this game has a series of arcs. How many lines each of the arcs was. And because we'd already played some on stream, I could compare this to other ones. So there was another one I had done that was 4 streams, and it was 4 fairly short streams. It was like an hour and a half, 2 hours, 4 hours, so it averaged out to be like 2.5 hours, something like that each. So 10 hours of streaming approximately. And it was double the amount of text that this one was. So I figured this one would be 2, maybe 3 streams. And I felt confident I could get that off before... Why'd you have to curse it? So yes, that's why I picked this one. We will be going back to Father Kevin afterwards. Sometime in January. Probably something like the 2nd week of January. He was first discovered by a police officer who just finished up guard duty at the festival and was about to head home. It was late at night, around 5 minutes before midnight. The location was around the point where the road to town turned into a paved road. It was near the end of the road where it started sloping downhill. Yes, we'll get back to Daddy Kevin. And we're pretty close to the end of that game as well. It just isn't close enough for me to feel confident in having done it in like 3 streams. If I had to put a number on it, I'm guessing it's more like 5 streams left. I already knew that. There are hardly any streetlights in the
そ
area.
の車のライトの中にいきなり血まみれの死体が浮かび上がったの。
That car hadn't driven by, it probably wouldn't have been discovered until morning. It must have been pure coincidence that they found Tomitake-san. Just imagining it creeped me out. Tomitake-san lying down on the road in a puddle of blood, with blood and filth spread all across the asphalt. Police initially suspected he was hit by a car. However, when they went to check if he was alive, they immediately noticed something peculiar.
喉がね、ズタズタに引き裂かれていた。
With the knife? Even though I wanted to say that, my welling disgust kept me from speaking up. Even so, my thoughts were clearly conveyed. Mion had been averting her gaze, but she suddenly looked up at me.
自分の爪で。
Was Tomitake an uncle? Not that we know. Nails? What? So what we know about Tomitake is he is a photographer who comes from Tokyo to the village every year for the festival to photograph it and to take pictures of nature around. The nails on his fingertips?
ガリガリ、ガリガリ、ガリガリって。
Scraping? That awful sound echoed inside my head. Scrape, 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 scrape. Feel like I did? No, we only killed the uncle. That's the only person we killed. In other words, Tomitake-san wasn't murdered. Oh, we asked a question. The police had reached the same conclusion. I quietly thought it over. Shortly after parting with us, Tomitake-san started scratching his throat with his own fingernails. He scratched so hard he tore his throat apart. See, we hunt uncles. It's fine. Even after he broke the skin and blood came pouring out, Tomitake-san still wouldn't stop scraping and
爪
scraping.
がほとんど剥げていたそうだよ。
Peeled off, scraping away with incredible force and scraping even more. Then scraping away at his veins and arteries, pop, scrape. Spraying blood all around him. The blood pouring out of his mouth, vomiting it out, and then he fell to the ground having convulsions, suffocating. Despite the particularly abnormal cause of death, there were no traces of any drugs in his body.
薬物中毒じゃないのか?
Mion calmly shook her head in response. But could he really have committed suicide? Never heard of anything like this. It's not normal. It's not a normal way to die. What is there to even say about a death so mysterious? Among all the deaths in the past 5 years, this is the one that most resembles a curse. The surrounding area was unusual too. A piece of lumber was laying by the corpse's feet. Traces of Tomitake-san's blood were found on the piece of wood. The scar tissue in his hand matched the square shape of the lumber. There were signs that the surrounding trees and guardrail were struck with it. Tomitake's bloodstains were scattered all around them. So what does that mean?
富武さんはね、喉を爪でかきむしりながら、血を滴らせて血まみれになりながら、角材を片手で振り回していたということ。
Is he trying to defend himself from someone? Mion silently nodded to me. On top of that, there were several scars spread across
富
his
武さん
body.
は何者かに暴行を受けたらしい。しかもたくさんの人間たちに寄ってたかって。
Tomitake-san was surrounded by people and fought back. He tried running down the dimly lit road, but once it became clear that he couldn't escape, he fought back using that piece of lumber. All the while, Tomitake-san was deliriously scratching at his throat, scraping and scraping. And then he died. The silence felt like it would go on forever. Then Mion suddenly lifted the heavy curtain of silence. Another inconceivable thing to say.
おかげで私たちまた疑われてるんだよ。
She said that quietly. Suspects? What? Who? What for? Why? After hearing that whole story about Tomitake-san's horrific death, hearing that follow-up context comment with no context had me doubting my ears.
今までの事件は全部園崎家が裏で糸を引いてるんじゃないかって警察にね。綿流しの夜の事件の被害者は全員園崎家にとって不都合な人たちばっかりだったから。
Come to think of it, all the incidents so far did benefit the Sonozaki family. Throughout Hinamizawa's history, all the victims so far have been people connected to the dam war.
毎年綿流しの日に旧敵が、それだけで十分に疑われる。
Thinking back on it, first was the dam construction manager, next the villagers who supported the dam. People who supported the dam construction were dying mysteriously one after another. The cause of death varied, but the victims were all supporters. In other words, they were all opponents of the Sonozaki family. There was no solid evidence, only rumors and circumstantial evidence to support it. It certainly seemed difficult to just laugh it off. But hold on, what about the shrine priest and his wife who were next to die?
園崎家とは関係が薄い。
そう。薄い。
What?
薄いのに。
I suddenly noticed a hint of sadness in Mion's eyes, but I could see the cold light, malediction in there as well.
その家の主婦は撲殺されたの。
That's because this is Shion. If that wasn't evidently clear. I already knew about that story. Shion told me about the incident.
確かその家の子がその後に消えてしまったんだよな。
その子はね、去年まで私たちと同じ学校にいたんだ。
Went to the same school as us until last
名
year.
前は北条聡君。
You're confused? So there's the two sisters, there's Mion and Shion, and a whole part of this series is they'll trade places at times. And part of it's trying to figure out who is who.
同じクラスにいたんだ。聡子のお兄さんなの。
The air around me suddenly grew thin. My lips were quivering. Felt like a goldfish separated from the fishbowl, desperately struggling to breathe. Sadako's grief-stricken eyes flashed before me, then dissipated. Unbelievable. Sadako lost her brother to the curse? Even the people close to me are being caught up in this so-called curse? I began to tremble. My head was spinning rapidly. Hold on. Mitake-san had an even weaker connection. He's not even related to the dam conflict at all. Isn't it strange for an outsider to be killed for no
そういう
reason?
こと。初めこそダム工事関係者に偏っていた。だけど時が経つにつれて犠牲者の関係した度合いは希薄になってきている。
つまりそれは
Doesn't matter if you're related to the dam project or not, as long as you're an enemy of the Sonozaki family. It's possible that Satoshi was an enemy of the Sonozaki family too. Maybe he learned one of the Sonozaki family's secrets or something like that, and so he had to be eliminated. A chill ran down my spine. I hadn't been able to speak up for a while now. I could barely even bring myself to swallow the spit in the back of my throat. Even after I managed to swallow it, the sound of the gulp echoed inside my ears. False accusations, baseless suspicion, and outrageous theories. Wait, is that really a false accusation? Is it so baseless? I stared intently at Mion, but she immediately averted her gaze. Was Satoshi erased because he learned something he shouldn't know? Could Tomitake-san's death have something to do with it too? And what about me? Am I starting to become a nuisance for the Sonozaki family?
なんでそんなことを俺に話したんだ。
そう簡単に話せない理由を知っていてほしかったんだ。でもこのことは部活のみんなには絶対に内緒だよ。
Why keep it a
みんなが
secret?
たたりに過敏になっている。自分にその害が及ばないようにってね。
I respond with a vague nod. Indeed, it was pretty clear from the atmosphere that everyone wanted to avoid the topic, but
それに特に聡子の前ではこんな話したくない。
it seemed obvious. Nobody wanted to talk about a curse that took their brother away from them. Still,
わかった？だからここで会って話をしたことも誰にも絶対に内緒だからね。もし約束を破ったらケイちゃんはきっと後悔する。
Mion's eyes radiated like a sword made of ice. A chill ran through me. There was nothing I could do to defend against her gaze.
わかった。ここで会ったことは秘密にする。絶対に約束する。
Just then, I heard the announcement that it was closing time. Mion and I made our way out of the library.
おじさんさ、これから親戚のところに行かないといけないんだ。
After saying that, Mion and I waved to each other in front of the library, then started walking in opposite directions. Next moment, I heard a familiar voice calling out to me. I spun around in a flash. Brenna was sitting on her bike. The basket on her bike was full of shopping
どう
bags.
したのこんなところで。
あ、いや、たまには図書館もいいかなってさ。
へえ、
なんだよ、その顔は。
ここって涼しくていいところだもんね。
それにタダだしな。
そうだね。
じゃあ、また明日な。
I wanted to get out of here as soon as possible, so I tried heading towards the bike rack. Brenna moved in front to block me.
どうしてそんなに慌ててるのかな
あ、慌ててなんかないぞ。
ふーん、そうかな
暗くなってきたしさ、早く帰ろうかなって思っただけだ。
じゃあ一緒に帰ろうよ。
She lightly tilted her head and looked me straight in the eyes. I could clearly see the suspicion in her eyes.
なんだよ。
She was just quietly looking at me, but somehow it made me feel
図書
uncomfortable.
館で何してたのかなって。
勉強だよ。
Rena irritates you already. I quietly looked in the direction of the library as I said that. Mion was already long gone. My conversation with Mion was still nagging at me. What was she thinking, sharing such a serious secret with me? Mion seemed concerned that the police suspected her. That much was fine. Do whatever I can to help her. But even so, you could get eliminated in the name of the curse for the crime of learning something better left unknown, something the Sonozaki family didn't want people knowing. Then would I be the next one to be eliminated?
ねえケイチくん、誰かと一緒にいなかったかな
Huh?
さっき誰かと一緒にいたような気がしたんだけど。
一人だよ。
本当？
本当だよ。
でも
なんだよ。
髪の長い女の子が隣にいたような気がしたから。
She saw that? Just stab her? In that case, my deceit was all for naught, so I started thinking.
ああ、あれは隣に座ってた人。
そうなんだ。
Rena carefully looked me up and
なんだよ。
down.
だって座ってたのが隣でも一緒に出てくるのかなって。
たまたま一緒に出てきたんだよ。
Because it was closing time, so everyone gets out.
嘘。
Okay, I need to see what her creepy eyes look like. She looks like she's 10.
ケイチくん、
I think canonically
あの女の子と
she's supposed to
絶
be
対前から知り合いだったはずだよ。
13-ish. So all of the people in this game are Mion's the oldest. Mion and Shion are the oldest. They would be in grade 8, which would be the equivalent of like 14, 15, something like that. And then Rena and Keiichi are 1 year younger.
なんでそんなことわかるんだよ。
だって圭一くんの動きとても自然だったもん。
俺はいつでも自然だぞ。
うん。でもだったらおかしいね。
俺のどこがおかしいって言うんだ。
知らない人と会ってるのにどうしてあんなに自然なのかな。
I was shocked.
だって圭一くん自意識過剰なところがあるから。
Just leave him alone.
知らない人といると動きがギクシャクするんだよ。
Indeed, I do have some trouble talking to people that I haven't met before.
それに
Also,
圭一くん嘘つくと鼻がピクピクするもん。
what? I held my hand to my nose. Do I really do that? And Rena suddenly started giggling.
引っかかり。
She got me?
知らない人じゃなかったんでしょ。
Could hardly make a sound in response, so as a last
実
resort,
はさ、彼女も同い年で話が合っちゃってさ、最近友達になったんだ。
I took my lie even further.
沖宮の子。
I nodded in response to Rena's
そうらしい
question.。
どこの学校だって。
Huh? I don't know. The middle school's no Konomiya. Desperately thought it over and tried to find something to
い
say.
や、聞いてないな。
どこの学校も聞かずに。おかしいな。ふん。
Rena unnaturally tilted her head to the side, and she looked at me with a big grin.
嘘だよ。やっぱり。
Finally realized that Rena had me completely ensnared in her trap. I still couldn't tell her I was with
分かっ
Mina.
た。だからここで会って話をしたことも誰にも絶対に内緒だからね。もし約束を破ったらケイちゃんはきっと後悔する。
Your backpack. My promise Mion was still echoing in the back of my head. My face must look painfully distorted. I was desperately thinking of how to get out of here. Then Rena suddenly burst out laughing.
圭一くん冗談だよ。
Bang, she gave me a good hard pat on the shoulder. What?
ひょっとして一目惚れ。
いや、
わかった。これ以上は聞かないでおくね。
What was she implying?
でも意外だな、圭一くん。
Unexpected? What is so
大丈夫
unexpected?
だよ。レナ、誰にも言わないから。
Rena let out one more laugh as she straddled her bike, then smiled while driving
おい
off.
レナ、ちょっと待てって。
I rushed over to my bike. When we pedaled our bikes towards Hinamizawa together, Rena continued laughing and making fun of me along the way. At any rate, I somehow managed to succeed in keeping my secret. No matter how hard Lena was talking and laughing, I could still hear the word curse ringing inside my head. The entire time I spent riding my bike home, I was filled with regret. I wish Mion had never told me that story. Yeah, that looks like it's the end of the chapter. Just go home, you're gonna be murdered. We won't be murdered that quick. But I think we are almost exactly halfway through this game. So... Oh, that wasn't the end of the chapter? Well, we're gonna call it there anyways, despite how quiet the classroom felt all morning. So let me save before I forget. I'm glad it tells me the classroom felt quiet all morning.